now it's about time for predictions. C-Dubs, you just think you're just the hottest on the desk right now. Oh, I don't miss predictions.
I don't.
All right, Mr. Smart Man. Who do you think is going to win the grand finals? Okay, we have two Titans facing off between DarkZero and Soniqs. Who you putting your money on?
I'm going to put my money on Soniqs because I want to put a lot of weight towards NJR today. On the side of DZ. He was almost like a win condition because the mid-round is going to be incredibly important for DZ, and I think a whole lot of pressure on him. I don't like how he stacks up against the rest of the Sonic squad.
Jacob, this is it, man. Everything comes down to this. Whose side are you rocking with, DZ or Soniqs?
Initially, when the season started, I was a Soniqs doubter, and I had no issues admitting that because we knew what their mentality was. We'll get to top 4 at some point down the road. Not an important priority, but if we get there, sweet. They got there. Stages 1, 2, and 3 were the most consistent team throughout, and I can't not bet against them in this case. I do look at the map pool and think, map 1 is a little on the nose simply because DarkZero picked it. We've never seen the Soniqs play this at all, so we will be breaking new territory. But in this case, because of how strong they've been all year, I can't not think that they've got everything prepped already in their back pocket. And against North American competition, they're kind of unbeatable. So I'm going with SQ.
When it comes to storylines, this one is going to be the best. When you talk about DarkZero and just the way that they hard stick to strategies and whatnot, what's the best way to put them? Chatterhead always says you got to punch them in the face and play like the Brazilians.
Punch them in the teeth, baby.
Punch them in the teeth, man. And you know who plays like that? It's going to be the boys in blue. I'm going to rock with the Soniqs because when things are just going crazy for them, I have a feeling now players like Yeti and Grixer, one of the guys that we highlighted a moment ago, they're going to pop off and have those moments that opens up everything for their team. We've seen it with DarkZero. We saw it on Coastline. Merc going crazy in Kitchen and DarkZero, they just fall apart. They're a great team, but I just think that in order for DarkZero to win, they're going to have to adapt to everything that Super and Joe Bro throws at them. And with their strap book, I don't think they're going to be ready for it. So, fellas, this is going to be about it. Jacob, when it comes to a player that you have your eyes on in this matchup to stand out above the rest, talking both teams, who are you looking out for?
The Flexmeister himself, Veli. Yeti.
There we go.
The god. I think it's nice against DZ. He probably will be in his element. I look at these maps. There is going to be some attacking stifles, unfortunately, because he's got to play double hard breach. We're going to bank. It's probably going to require that. We're going to club. It absolutely requires that. And he's the one on attack who always gets slated with that responsibility. But on defense, he should be able to flex and thrive and do what he does best. The way I thought Space Station was going to beat DarkZero yesterday was being unpredictable. I almost call it ranked style a little bit just because someone's going to be on a roam halfway across the map where they absolutely shouldn't be, and that was something Hot and Cold did against DZ yesterday to a point where they won Villa off the back of a couple incredible roams. That needs to happen again. Yeti needs to be fully unleashed, and if he isn't, DarkZero have a real chance in this game. But if he's on point, working at 110% off the rain, like we said back in 2019, then I think SQ have us in the bag.
I think that as well. But you know what? You know what else is on point? All of our suits again. I'm going to give a special shout out. And for those of you at home, you can join in on the fun and all the fashion because if you go to Indochino.com, INDOCHINO.com, you can win a $2,000 giveaway for a suit or suits to where you can look just as impressive as us. And fellas, it's not just the outside. It's also the inside that's flashy with it. I love it.
All right, Flex, you've been working out. You've been working out.
Jacob, you've been working out too, man. What you got on the inside, baby?
I got to show it off a little bit.
Show it off. A little flex.
Look at that, though. Look at this. And a little bit of a surprise. Remember that XZ Beast Coast game?
Jacob.
You know what I got on the inside of this thing? You should be able to read it. Why are you sprinting, bio?
That is phenomenal. I got Chocolate Thunder. You know, I have to rock with my other identity.
Hey, I mean, you named your
alter
suit.
ego?
My alter ego. What's going on?
Your suit is so nice that we had to name it.
I had to name it.
What'd you name it?
Desiree. You know why?
Why?
Because everybody desires her, man. Do you see how good this is? I got
You come up with that on the fly?
The purple velvet with the golden watch, purple and gold. You guys, trust me. Go to Indochino.com and you can win you one of these suits. This is phenomenal. You don't want to miss it. There's a lot of giveaways, prizes, and whatnot. So make sure you keep your eyes on them. But it's about that time to get the grand final started. It's going to be DarkZero versus Soniqs. So send us away to Gucci, Blue, and Stokes. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Veli, and it's a pleasure to be here for the finals of the 2021 NAL season. Soniqs is with me here on the cast, and what a match we have here. DarkZero, a titan of the league for such a long time now, going up against a team that no one expected to be in this position at the end of the season. The Soniqs, who completely rebooted their roster at the beginning of this year and showed us truly what the leadership of Super can bring to an already very powerful group of 4 fraggers. They sit here now ready to claim the title, and the big question is, will they be able to do it? We'll have to wait and see. But before we get to that, Soniqs, I saw you on that intro video looking so fly with the pirate tie. It was looking great, man. How you feeling about your ensemble here today from Indochino?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. And here's the thing about good suits, John. You don't only feel good on the outside. You feel good on the inside, man. So you're looking good. You're feeling good. Everything's gravy. And that's really what it's about, man. That's why you guys should definitely check out Indochino. I've been rocking these suits the entire year. You guys have seen this jacket. You saw the new black one yesterday. But I'm telling you, the quality is through the roof.
That's right, whether it's in-store or online, they take full custom measurements and order your suit made to order with those measurements. It feels great. It looks great, too, as you can see. So feel free to go ahead and check out Indochino.com for all your suiting needs and fancy dress needs as well. We're moving on from that, though, into the matchup. And let's talk a little bit about this. What do you think about this one? Who do you think is going to end up coming out on top of this matchup when it's all said and done?
I think it's a tall task for both of these teams for different reasons. DarkZero obviously coming together inside of Stage 3, and this is a culmination of everything they've been working for since that point. Whereas the Soniqs, it's been a long burn this entire year. As you were talking about initially, they came through with Super, completely blowing the team apart and rebuilding it from the ground up with this united roster. And a lot of us were questioning as to how this was going to go, really what the Soniqs could bring to the table this year. And I think we've gotten our answer. It has been stellar Siege gameplay throughout the entire season, and it's all came up to this moment. Now, for me, I am also leaning with what the desk is saying about the Soniqs. They just look so solid right now, and if Super continues his play from yesterday, I think it's going to be a tall task to ask for DarkZero to really get this dub.
Yeah, especially on the last map, Super came in just being as a proficient part of the team. Like I said, arguably the best series we've seen out of him all year, if not the best series we've seen out of him all year in yesterday's matchup. So if anything close to that continues to be brought to the table, on top of the usual firepower we get out of the rest of the roster, like Rexon going for those dirty single taps that he got at least once against Foxay on the second map. Other players too, Kansan and Grix are having those great performances. And even Yeti, who we talk about, is a little bit of a kind of risk in that department. Sometimes he's there, sometimes he's not. But when he is there, man, the power he brings to the table is nearly unmatched even compared to the rest of the Soniqs roster.
Yeah, as they were talking about earlier, Yeti off the rain. I always look at him as the loose cannon of the Soniqs, always the variable inside of all of those constants there to really shift things and make you question as to what the Soniqs are going to do, because Yeti could, technically speaking, be anywhere. He'll play anything from Maverick all the way down to Buck if he really has to. He'll play anything under the sun to make things work for the Soniqs, and that's what we really love to see for this roster. Now, speaking for the DarkZero camp, they have Canadian, the best IGL in North America now under their banner, and he's been looking so solid throughout these last handful of days. Now, I will say this, it's been difficult to try and get through to the other end, but hopefully Canadian can assist DarkZero in that.
You can see what the teams are going to be playing for now in the center of the stage. The beautiful NAL 2021 Championship Trophy will be lifted by one of these two teams on either side of the stage, in addition to the lion's share, as you guys saw earlier on the analysis desk, of our prize pool. $75,000 for first place, $45K going to our second place team. Already upgrading it quite a bit from the $15K pools that the two teams that were eliminated yesterday are going home with, but still a chance to add another $30,000 to that if they can come out with the win here today.
Yeah, some very solid money in a foraged trophy. None of this plastic stuff. Got the very nitty-gritty out here, metal trophies and all, so some nice things to be taken home for everyone. But enough mincing words, folks. It's time for Bank, and not only is it Bank, but it's Bank for the NAL Finals between DarkZero and Soniqs. Let's get right into it.
This is obviously, again, a new version of Bank with fairly slight modifications towards it, most notably inside of the basement and some changes to the upstairs and even the first floor as well here. But again, the overall styling of the map is going to be very similar to the previous version. Teams have still been a little bit hesitant to work this into the pool. We have been seeing them grow more and more comfortable with it, obviously, as it's been a couple of months now since its inclusion. So we're going to see how exactly these two teams will face off against today as we get into the bans, though no surprise that first attacker one, Buck, has become very, very proficient on this map just for trying to clear out top top-down or even bottom-top angles, so we'll get rid of him early on.
And also a prioritization for Super yesterday as well. We saw a lot of the secondary hard breach coming out on Buck, and it's made him a lot more useful and just easier to work in. And we all know how strong that skeleton key is. It's really just a secondary utility that determines how easy it is to work into that offensive lineup. Habana also going to follow through, but we expect that. Bank being a map that you play around a lot of hatches, so want to get her out of the way. But that's going to leave Thatcher up. Kaid will be removed here, so make it to where you can actually operate around things without Thatcher, be able to get these hatches open. Finally, we're going to have Malusi removed. Not one that we just see too often anymore, but still one that you want to get off the board, especially, when it comes to these congested maps. Just a favorable thing for some teams that they do want to end up removing it. But that's going to be it for the ban phase. We got out of the annoying parts of the game. Now, into the prep phase here, and the pick phase, most importantly, to see what this first round's going to build up to.
We were gassing up Soniqs for the most part during the pregame there. We're going to talk about DarkZero a little bit here too, who also had a great performance yesterday. Most notably, once again, Panba stepping up to the plate there, having a great performance in at least the first 2 maps of that series as well. Falling off a little bit towards the end of it, so we'll have to wait and see, as he's been a big proponent here for the boosting of DarkZero, as they've been trying to once again find their footing here in the league for quite some time. And already, of course, earning the 2nd place finish by making it here, but they want 1st place. They want to fight for that title as well. They've been looking for one arguably just as long as the Soniqs have, so we'll see who comes out on top of that. We are going to start with a Teller's defense, though, which is interesting to see for DarkZero. Not usually the first site teams are playing into, but that is also not an established meta at this point as far as Bank is concerned, so teams pretty much have freedom of choice right now in terms of where to go.
Yes, indeed. And I believe the last thing DarkZero won was the Summer Major last year. The internal ones while everyone was doing those around the globe for Rainbow Six Esports. So it's been a little while, and same for Canadian. It's been a while since he got a big dub under his belt, all the way back at SI 2020 is the last time we saw him with a major victory. So would love to get something going here today, but it all starts right now with DarkZero on this Teller's Archives defense. And it's going to be a pretty interesting one, especially with the way that they have to defend this top floor. The Soniqs will be leaning into a little bit of info with the Sam Cams coming along on Rex and Cans, and also with a 6 pick away from the Zofia. He's picked up IQ. That's really going to assist them with getting rid of a lot of this utility on this mid floor. But again, it comes into contact with these top floor players. They really want to get in this space and try and work this through so the IQ can assist. But either way, it's still going to help at least in the department of getting rid of those black eye cams.
As well as Rex and a few other members of the Soniqs roster focusing heavily on the windows, and to watch success as well, as Grixer's going to be able to line up the opening kill against Panba. Not going to be the end of aggression as far as the defense is concerned, though. You can see Canadian here lurking around the connector going out towards Banana here. He'll continue to hold that position for the time being, as he needs some way to put pressure against these window repels later on in the round when they try to work in. He's going to try to hop out, but Rexon reads into that one, quickly works his way up the repel, catches Canadian and knocks him out. So it's 2-0 so far in frags here in the opening round for the Soniqs.
A patience game here for the Soniqs, playing high onto the building, making it really difficult for anybody that hops out with very minimal intel, giving them a difficult gunfight. Either way, DarkZero now down 2 people, and this is all of a sudden turned into a pretty poor situation for them. The Nitro cell is going to come in big if they're able to get any of these off, specifically Hyper over here towards Stock or Tellers as well. But either way, right now for Soniqs, it's going to be the patience game. Just want to make sure that they can get into the building and not lose too many bodies in the process. Rexon stepping up to the plate upstairs. He'll swing into CEO, start working his way in through the quad windows. His conference room currently occupied by Hyper, but he's quick to move. Has the elevator hatch open, so he'll transition down to E2, but has so many bodies around him that he might not be aware of. Droned out here. Has a gunfight, but only take it on the receiving end. Eclipse will get traded out immediately by Yetis. They take over lobby control, and DarkZero down to 2 members.
Just like yesterday, even when we see the defense pick up kills against the Soniqs attack here, the trades are showing up almost instantaneously, as we just see there. Yes, Super is lost. Yes, the hard breach is lost, but they're pushing in quite proficiently. They still have Yeti to work those angles as well. Let's be honest, we're on a Teller's attack, so you're not necessarily going to require that hard breach. And as well, Rexon has also brought the can openers to work with some of these hatches to be able to open them up and present more options to the attack here. But regardless, they have fallen down to the last minute, but in a 4v2, things are looking pretty stable. Just have to isolate out either Hyper or NJR to be able to get into the site and get the case down onto the ground.
Yeah, so far it's just been unadulterated aggression from DarkZero trying to deal with the situations that Soniqs have presented, but they put themselves on the back foot so early on in this round that it just really really never seemed like a DZ round in the slightest. This has just been very easy, breezy, beautiful for the Soniqs, and it's going to continue to be so. More information coming out. Rexon will get rid of the camera. That's a double for Grixer as NJR goes down, and they know exactly where the last man is. Hyper has very low HP, and this should solve itself momentarily. A couple of seconds left, but no Nitro Cell to deny from below, just given that it's Bank. We'll try and take some gunfights around the marble space area, but he got pushed down finally from Rexon, as Soniqs will only lose one inside of round one.
So DarkZero gets shut down here inside of the first round. As Snoke's was saying, every bit of aggression they try to throw out against the Soniqs is either caught or instantaneously traded upon the one kill they did pick up over the course of that round. So a choice now needs to be made here. Do they try to double down on that and look for ways to work around these two-player setups that the Soniqs are using to get access and, more importantly, get the kills they need to push further into the map? Or do they fall back on a more bunker-centric play? And more than likely, we're going to see the second option as they're going towards the basement, but we'll obviously wait and see how that plan is going to unfold more specifically.
I don't really think it's that. What I think it is I think it needs to be more coordination inside of the aggression. We see a lot of solo plays right now from DarkZero, and yeah, those can work out and be all well and good, but even in the situation that Canadians presented with, you're already down a man, you're going to trade yourself out 1-for-1 outside. Even if you do get the kill, you're still going to be down a man, and if you trade that out, yeah, sure, but it's still that 4 versus 3, making things really, really difficult, and even if he does kill that person, they still have hard breach to be able to get open all of those hatches, and it's going to be more of the same. So I'd really like to see DarkZero, if they're going to continue this, at least double up in that department and see some other people trying to coordinate with these plays instead of just seeing these hero things go on around this. But very early days right now for DZ, and plenty of time to make some adjustments on this defensive end, as they'll start that off immediately, sending this site downstairs.
Brings it down here. Just the first few seconds of the prep phase. As once again, DarkZero is going to set themselves up. No surprises when it comes to the reinforcements that are being placed. Once again, this just allows for an extra little boost to the overall setup here. More importantly, the extended play that's going to come out from DZ once again into this upstairs play. We're going to see reinforcements go down onto those upstairs hatches, so we'll not have the easy rotate back down through the two-tiered hatch that you would normally see go into the small office there and then down into the basement. Not going to be the case. They'll have to manually rotate through square, then work their way over towards that if they want to have a safe path to work their way back down. So we'll see how this is going to work out for DZ, because yes, it is going to present some obstacles for the Soniqs. It's going to potentially make things take a little bit more time, but at the same while here, DarkZero are also going to potentially lock themselves out of a few rounds to retreat. Thankfully, still leaving the elevator hatch open, though, so it's not the end of the world at the moment for Hyper.
It's up to Soniqs and how they want to clear this. Will they end up getting the stairwells locked up, especially inside of that elevator hallway? That space is going to be a big saving grace for DZ if they're able to translate that into a couple of kills and get the heck out of Dodge. But opening ensemble now for the Soniqs as they're trying to figure out exactly what they want to do with this. Yeti seemingly aware of someone being inside of the teller's office space. It's going to be Pambazoo all the way back inside of Archives now. Found the rotate as they're simply creeping around this area. DarkZero seemingly unaware of this in the moment. Soniqs working this top floor as well. As you can see, Kansan, I believe, inside of CEO already, with DarkZero pushed towards the main elevator hallway. So the Soniqs have found a little bit of space to work with, a little room to breathe, and with this lack of intel, the Valkyrie more than likely dusted. Pambazoo with an oversight. It's going to be 2 for Yeti. They're just allowing this to walk through. Just keep coming at him, DarkZero. He'll line it up all day. This 1.5 site makes these headies so unbelievably easy as they continue to put their face where they shouldn't.
We talked about it in the pregame. When Yeti is here, when Yeti is on, he is absolutely brutal. A few trades coming in here from the DarkZero roster, but certainly not enough after what Yeti contributed towards earlier on in the round. He goes down, but ultimately it's only left Eclipse alive here for DZ, as he's going to be left in a 1v3, and he won't last very long inside of that. Grixer with the drive-by to finish things off, and the Soniqs take a 2-0 lead.
I'm sorry. I literally the entire Soniqs roster is just like, okay, are you serious? Is this what we're doing, guys?
This is the match?
I mean, okay. You know, if this is the NAL finals, I guess we'll just win it. I don't really know, but I mean, that's just a very simple round for the Soniqs. You guys can see that at home. Yeti just simply walks inside the building, 0 intel, and I mean, that's a huge oversight from DarkZero. I don't understand how we have Valkyrie as well as default cams in that space, and no one knows that that man's walking in through ATMs. You would expect a lot more out of DarkZero in that situation.
Yeah, certainly the case, and very unfortunate for DZ here. It's been 2 kind of bad starts in a row for them. 2 bouts of aggression they try to swing out, really to take care of just 1 to 2 players as well, and both times it cost them so much they ultimately are not going to be able to have that player power later on in the round here. What's up?
It's a double down from Yeti, my friend. If you thought Maverick was sneaky, well, I got news for you. We got Knock in play now. Still has the frag grenades, but as we all know, her help presence will assist her in being not only quieter, but stealthier around those cameras that DarkZero are already seldomly using. So, make it to where Yeti can more than likely dive even deeper into these sites without DarkZero being aware.
Next, once again, gonna look to try and find a way to breach through this DarkZero setup. This has been the site that we've seen a lot of teams working towards somewhat initially at the start of their maps here, because it does present a lot of options for the defense to spread out. Once again, keep a lot of map control like very late into the round here. That even extends to some degree upstairs. You're going to see the deployment come in here from Canadian and Hyper to try and maintain stock control, with a bigger emphasis, of course, on holding the J room in the middle, right where Canadian is right now.
Very, very interesting. We're going to have a single reinforcement panel on that as well. Canadian will slap his last mirror window upstairs inside of Janitor. So both of these being played towards the north side, expecting Soniqs to come in from not only CEO, but get that square control. Also saw that reinforcement going down over towards the teller's area. So we'll see exactly what they are, stock rather. But either way, with that panel down, going to be able to play inside the elevator hallway upstairs a little bit easier. It's just as you were saying, John, it's going to be the spread defense, but as we'd expect with open area, that's what you're going to receive. Those hatches making it so easy to play through the entire building, and having an opportunity to get those rotates. And Yeti, he'll sneak right in. This should be pretty free. He's on cameras. He sees the elbow. That's going to be the free B as he'll walk inside of Archives. DarkZero simply cannot do a single thing right in the moment.
He said it was a double down, and indeed it is here from Yeti.
Same
He's
play.
Are they going to let me through again? And they certainly do. The gates are left wide open. Yeti even kicks the door in on the way in. It doesn't even matter, though. Picks up the kill, and there's an immediate, once again, frag going by the way of the Soniqs to start this off. It doesn't even end there. Kansan is going to find his own bout of success as now Canadian falls to him, and it's down once again to a 5v3. Panva will be the first to pick up an exchange, but even he, too, like I said before, instantly traded, this time by Grixer, as the Soniqs maintain that same player advantage, now bring it down to a 4v2.
Hyper, possibly the saving grace up here. A drone will go out, drops down into open area. Luckily enough, nobody will be watching printer window, so we'll stay alive for just a while longer here, but that shot of the drone, they know that more than likely this top floor is clear. They'll double check with the drone inside of sight. Now they know where all of them are. And by the way, the Soniqs have had such insane info throughout the entirety of this round. I don't know if you guys have been keeping track of the yellow pings throughout most of this, but time and time again, SQ has a read on DarkZero's situation, whether it be the positioning upstairs or what have you. They've always got somebody on cams making sure that these kills go off without a hitch. You're only as good as your information in Siege, and Soniqs are knocking it out of the park.
Once again exercising total control over the large majority of these rounds so far here. Never a moment where DZ really feels like they have the power on the defense. That's continued into round number 3 here. Once again, a moment of quiet as the members of the Soniqs are going to put heavy emphasis on the drone play to try to figure out where these last two players are, so they don't end up walking into this setup and potentially allowing the round to turn itself back on its heels. You're going to notice here as they work their way in, NJR tries to get aggressive, and it's found, as well as the second player, also being dealt with relative ease. The Soniqs, Yeti specifically, almost can't believe it just how they're walking through these rounds right now, as it's all the Soniqs so far at a 3-0 lead here on Bank.
Yeah, again, I know I said this a little bit earlier, but you'd expect a lot more out of DarkZero in this situation, especially given that not only is it DarkZero, but it's Canadian on Bank of all things, and I think that's what we're going to be seeing the time out here. Now, the big thing is exactly what does Mint say? Hey guys, you're not on cameras. You're not paying attention to where they're coming in from the building. You know, there's really, it's kind of a difficult road for them right now. Every single opening thus far has been 2 picks out of the Soniqs. No real retaliation from DarkZero. They're always fighting man down, and that's just not something that you want to hear a commentator say when you're playing Siege.
Not to mention that just holes are being left open all over the defense to specifically allow Yeti to make the plays he's been making over the last 2 rounds.
He's walked in through ATM 3 times, John. 3 times. Listen, I'm no dentist, but
the door is being left wide open, and DarkZero are trying to figure out how they keep getting robbed here. It seems like a simple solution, but for them, it's much more difficult to figure out exactly how to find the counter towards it. So much confidence coming out from the Soniqs in this opening minute or 2 of every round here. And while DarkZero are trying to return that in some rounds with their own aggression, in some rounds a more passive take to try and keep themselves alive, it is just not working so far. So this pause hopefully giving them some renewed strength, as Stokes was mentioning. Mint gets to chime in here. The coach gets to add a little bit of gets to add a little bit of his take on this situation. And now we're going to see how that all plays out, as they will reattempt the open area site. But we'll see now, as there's going to be a 6 pick to finally bring Pulse into play for Canadian. Castle also going to block things off there as Panva takes on that role.
Yeah, we're going back to staff open area, so expecting that castle out of Hambazoo, but what I'm liking so far is that we initially saw the info denial coming out with the mute jammers as well as the Mozzie, but instead Canadian has 6-picked over to the Pulse. And here's something very special about this character. Most of you know Canadian for his Pulse play, but the beauty of this character in general is that Canadian will be able to coordinate his entire team through that Pulse sensor. He can constantly use the cardiac sensor to find solid data on the Soniqs and relay it back to DZ and command them completely from the basement for most of this. A new hatch sitting over in the corner here inside of lobby. That's a space underneath now with Gold Vault being extended and make it a little bit easier to play down there. He can practically get a read on the entire map all the way down low. So should be a little bit better for DZ just to see where this entry is coming from, most notably because they cannot try and make a stand on those cameras, given that Yeti will be using Nox utility throughout most of this round.
Well, once again, let's see if Soniqs will be able to find as proficient of a start as we've seen from them previously. Canadian, though, is more than likely going to be able to spot the shenanigans, specifically from players like Yeti, but as well anyone else on the Soniqs roster that wants to try and go for early entries here. That's exactly what he's going to be looking out for. Yeti will start to work his way forward here. Remember, he's got the ability to deny the electronics as well, still being on the Nook right now, so potentially allow for him to have some greater capability to play this out. Canadian, though, is very much specifically looking out for him and his lurk. So Yeti's choice to back up a few moments ago and reposition to somewhere that we'll see in a few moments ultimately is probably going to end up being a very good choice.
Yeah, we've seen from the Soniqs as well as their patience really working out, making it to where the defense has to constantly sit and think
no way he
as to
knows
what they're
this.
doing. Yeah, he faked the front as well. Yeti's playing
Look, they've got the ping on it.
extremely well in the moment. They should have barricaded both sides of this, and they did. But here's the other thing about this space, John. He can literally play this angle right here, and he can actually block this stairwell going to Marble. And with solid intel down low, if Canadian's all the way at the back of this, and he punches the bottom of the door, he should be able to just crouch in, just like so, or just prone, that works too. And now you're in very hot water on both ends. Troy heard the door, but he's just going to work his way up Marble, and he's going to be in between two people right now. It's going to be a freebie on the one, but does he get the refrag immediately? No, it'll be a dash back downstairs. Should be a kill for Canadian here, as he'll clean that up. And finally, we get some sort of call from DarkZero. It'll be a 4 versus 4 here at the halfway mark.
More importantly, DarkZero maintain control for really the first time this game here. Don't lose a massive amount of map control in the process of that volley of kills, so still in fairly comfortable positioning here, even as the Soniqs start to take some for themselves. Specifically upstairs, they're going to begin on working their descent over towards the Tellers area. Hyper with a nice Nitro, though, puts the numbers in the favor of DarkZero, I believe for the first time in this game, as they take it down to a 4v3.
Yeah, it's been hard fought for DZ thus far, but finally it seems like they're awake. It's going to shake some of the bad mojo off, and finally having a solid round here. But that doesn't mean that the Soniqs can't fight back. Still so much utility at their disposal. Multiple departments. Still got a lot of info as well as some hard breach to be able to handle things in this situation. So we'll see what they want to go forward with. Not going to have the mirror windows in the same position as we had last time. This entire wall will be reinforced this time around, but that frag grenade just to get rid of those mute jammers. Some smokes out to hold things up inside of cafeterias. Hyper will be the most forward player, with finally the exothermics going down from Super.
Time quickly running out here for the Soniqs. They need to make a move now. This will be the first time they're really going to be forced into an execute when they haven't been able to check off everything they need to here. So they're going to try and push through the smoke. They made their way past it here, so we'll have to wait and see. And actually, no, it's Grixer wrapping around to try and work his way in from the windows instead. Loses a teammate on the way forward, and Grixer cannot find anyone. Eclipse picking up 2, though, as he denies both the entries, and Hyper quickly flicks over to stop the push from Kitchen. Beautifully done from DZ, and a great adjustment to specifically bring Canadian in on the pulse. That stops the shenanigans from Yeti, and the rest of the team holds strong in the site to finally give DZ their first round of the match.
That's the changeup that we really desperately needed to see from DZ. They need to get some info on the board and play around it. That's just the fundamentals of Siege. It's almost a requirement. So for them being starved from that so early on in those first 3 rounds, just so unbelievably difficult. But the pulse adjustment being a huge thing here and really assisting the team in knowing where the Soniqs were going to come from, even when Canadian is not getting intel, because obviously that proves that there's no one in that space. They have to be working around a different portion of the map. So we're not going to be seeing the same thing from DZ, obviously, as they will win for the very first time inside of the open area. They're headed upstairs instead to see if they can do it all over again with some pretty serious adjustments to this lineup.
For the Soniqs here, a lead still well in their favor, but the first bump in the road has been presented. going to be a little different in terms of how they have to deal with it now due to DZ obviously being forced off of that teller's site. No longer can they use the top-down traversal in order to get the intel they need onto the site setup, which ultimately didn't really work out too well for the Sonics in the last round. Anyway, now they're going to have to play directly into it here and figure things out as they go along with a much larger emphasis on repel play, for example. That's going to happen on the north side of this map, as well as potential control to come in from either the banana side or the square side, where you can see Kansas drone on the right side of your screen now.
Both of these lineups starting to posture against each other with the very serious changes coming through. Soniqs, he'll drop off the Nook, yet he'll be back onto his Maverick. Also getting the Zofia back into play for Kansan here. Won't be seeing the IQ this time around. Actually, luckily enough for them, is all this utility on the board is pretty manageable for the offense without IQ's presence, especially with those yokai drones no longer being invisible like they were back in the day. Should be fairly straightforward, but DZ will have a lot of cards on the table nevertheless. So the Soniqs will have to go about this pretty convincing fashion, especially with Eclipse and Hyper in play.
With the round very well and active now. 30 seconds already transpiring here from the overall clock. Soniqs have taken up the positions on Repel, but it's going to be some time before they feel the confidence to start moving into areas like Square. But of course, they will open it up and present those options to themselves. And, oh, nicely done. The Twitch drone sneaks right in, takes care of the J setup.
That was Rex and
Oh,
Sam
that's
Cam.
right. Yeah, that's going to be the Sam Cams that do that. I forgot they have that capability as well. So beautifully done either way by Rex in there, as he uses the Argus to sneak in with one of these cameras here and quickly take out the mirror windows.
Such a creative way to do that as well, and one I always forget about as well. It's
because it's like you think like Waxing is the one that started using it the most in NA, and like he like barely ever uses the actual shot.
We actually
shuts the cameras out and pretty much uses it just for the cams.
Yeah, I was gonna say we actually literally saw him use the Sam cams to burn ADSs for bathroom yesterday on Clubhouse. Like, out of all the things I thought I was gonna see those cameras used for, I did not think it was gonna go, hey, he's got like 3 or 4 of these. We're just gonna shoot him inside the room and burn up all these ADSs. But it works, you know. Sometimes you really need to just be able to get access with a frag grenade to a room, and hey, whatever works, whatever fits, it ships. So either way, Rexon will continue to launch these Argus cameras into sight. It's been pretty smooth sailing for both ends of the squad thus far. Canadians taking a little bit of pressure, but that's just about it. Sonic still trying to figure things out with this intel game. These drones have been so very solid throughout this round. It's something that I want to just continually highlight for the Sonics, is this intel game and how they've been able to capitalize on it so far. Getting into round 5 now, obviously, down to the last minute here for the Sonics. And our first bit of hard breach. Start going off on the right panel, but an oversight here. No one watching the hallway as Canadian simply steps up and removes ahead of Super.
There was someone on Repel that I believe was supposed to support that angle, but certainly was not available at the time. So a big misstep there cost them their primary hard breach. You still have the 2 can openers sitting on Rexon, so if he wants to swing in for the Repel here, he could certainly go for it. Grixer makes up for the lost player, though, as he's able to exchange one out, taking down NJR with a frag grenade as well. Hyper, though, immediately exchanging it back out for the defense here, as they also take Rexon down, and that removes the only other form of hard breach. They're not going to be able to get either of those primary site walls down and get the access to the site they need to make an easy push. This is going to be tough, if not impossible now, for the Sonics to try and work with the remaining time they have left. You can see that at least one wall, thankfully, is going to be left soft for them to try and play into, and Kansan will use that, but this is once again going against the J setup, which will be even more difficult to press in against here as he tries to go for it. Canadian and Yeti will exchange blows against 2 different players on the team. It falls to Kansan as well as Yeti. Just these 2 trying to hold it. Kansan holds the angle and the spray, and it gets him the first kill, but he can't locate the second player there. Panba finishes things off with 2 of his own, and DarkZero pick up their second consecutive round as we get ready to head into the last of the half.
Yeah, Canadian especially has to be very, very happy with that. That all comes down to the frag onto Super, and Kansan just not holding the angle at the proper moment. I don't know what else he was doing on a Repel there, but seemed like there was something of more importance to him in that moment and just did not have eyes on inside of that round. So unfortunate for the Sonics that happens, but either way, DZ been gifted 2 rounds inside of these last 2 and almost tying things up post timeout. So very nicely done from them thus far. They're going to be going to Teller's office archives for the 3rd time, I do believe, inside of this one to close out the half.
Yeti going to go back over towards the Nook. Now we'll see how this works out for the Sonics roster, as we saw quite a bit of proficiency from this early, specifically to take Teller's control due to the free access that he had gotten in through Teller specifically multiple times earlier on in this half. But DarkZero has certainly patched up that hole quite a bit since then, and it's going to be much more difficult for him to find the same degree of success with the rounds changing up their play style, specifically for DarkZero over these past 2 now, and has led to much greater success for the defense. Sonics cannot find these early engagements they touched at all in reality here. It's a complete stoppage of that huge advantage that Sonics have been getting at the beginning of every other round besides the 2 that DZ have picked up. So Sonics need a new strategy to get themselves in and to get the player advantage they need to get easier access to the site in the late round.
Yeah, most definitely. DarkZero with some Very major adjustments, playing more tight-knit, making it more difficult for the Sonics to initially find these frags. And we'll see if that continues as, well, this will be the last round for Sonics to do some damage on the offensive side before we flip that coin, switch sides. So the Sonics now, opening minute here. We'll see what they get done. Yeti back onto the Nook. See if he wants to come in through ATMs, but should more than likely favor the basement, either through dirt tunnel or coming in through the parking garage, just because this ATM area is more than likely going to be played out, as well as just it's going to be a primary hotspot for intel for the defense, just because of the area that they're working in. Canadian will actually end up getting gunned down upstairs, just simply trying to sprint in through quad, and Rexon's already on rappel. So DZ losing a key member early here as this Vigil's roam will not work out.
Yeah, possibly not expecting to see the pressure on Repel that early on. Either way, Canadian will get caught trying to transition into a safer spot by the connector. And as a result of that, Sonics finally get themselves an advantage that they've been missing for the previous 2 rounds here. Kansas as well. A little bit of a mistake. It's going to cost them a couple seconds,
Happens
but
to the
nothing
best
major.
of us, you know?
Just going to run back down, pick that up, and shuck it up again here. And at the same time, Yeti is also going to throw one of his.
That was spicy.
Landed up there, right?
Yeah, that's a spicy drone. I honestly, I didn't even know you could get it up on the gilded tops of those pillars. I usually just toss it up on that little like railing there and just use that instead. But I mean, that's the beauty of Bank as well. That entire lobby space is just a haven for drones and just info utility in general. You can find some very, very solid spots to be able to hold that down for an extended period of time. Speaking of which, the Sonics will be holding on to it for the time being. Rexon, he's processed this entire top floor. Nobody home as the rest of the Sonics will work into this space. We saw Super and the others down low as well, so they'll begin breaking up this top floor. No real space for DZ to work out towards lobby. A Nitro Cell's going to go wide, but NGR will get 1 and 2, actually, as they'll take down Yeti inside of the lobby. That's Case down on the lobby desk. Eclipse will pop off as well, and all of a sudden, we're into a 4 versus 2.
Good stuff again. The active play comes out from DarkZero here as we get close to the final minute, and that's going to really catch the Sonics by surprise here. Yeti, Super, and Grix are all falling to that, and suddenly a massive disadvantage turned against the Sonics roster when initially they had the opening pick for themselves here. Now needing to fight from the back foot. It's come down to once again 2 of the younger players on this team to make up the difference here and try to clutch things out. Case control is lost, but the good news is DarkZero shouldn't have an active press on that case itself, so going to be retrievable here for the attack, and we'll give them at least a chance to work their way into the site, but indeed it is just that, a chance at the moment here, as there's so many areas that DarkZero can play for, so much control that they'll have for themselves, and so many players, more importantly, that are not dealt with as of yet here by the Sonics roster. With only 20 seconds to manage it, they'll really have no choice but to force themselves into the belly of the beast with minimal info. We've got some yellow pinks coming out here now to support the DZ play as Sonics try to look for a way forward, but are nearly going to get caught on the way in. Kansan makes the cross, but can't get any further than that, and Hyper also finds the second kill just a moment later there. Both players go down, and DarkZero get the 3-peat for themselves here at the end of the half to make it an even scoreline at the end of it.
Well, the timeout pays off massive dividends. This will be able to tie things up, as you just said. Sonics, DarkZero will be switching sides after DarkZero able to clamber back from what seemed like the depths to initially begin, but obviously ended up turning the other foot. So either way, DarkZero will be able to get out of that one and get on over to the offensive side. Like the adjustments that we saw, especially for the patience inside of those rounds and playing more tight-knit like we were talking about before, just making sure that these big picks don't happen. Although Sonics were able to get away with 1 inside of that, but DZ fought back in very convincing fashion with NJR picking up those 2 kills inside of lobby.
And now the sides will flip, and the Sonics have their own opportunity to excel on the defensive end. We'll see if they're going to find that immediately, or if they too will struggle, similarly to the way that DarkZero did on the offset with their first half of the initial half. Things will go immediately to the basement for the Sonics here. They are not going to try and mess around with alternative sites upstairs, as we were seeing from DZ here. They'll go right back to the basics, right to the reliable sites they know that they can play into and that have worked for them in the past. Even a Mira being brought to the table once again, but shouldn't be too surprising here. There's a lot of harsh cutoffs in this basement. Holden Mira can help out tremendously for the defense and trying to establish those angles to quickly take out members of DarkZero that might be a little too overzealous and peek into them.
Sonics will be starting off down low and already changing some things up, and a very interesting deployable shield around the blue area as well. I don't know if you guys saw that at the bottom of the stairwell here, but that's actually going to be pretty interesting, especially if DZ tries to play in through dirt tunnel. Sonics will more than likely have multiple positions will be able to abuse that from, and overall this strategy making it difficult for DZ to take control of server and that blue stairwell in general. It's going to require a lot of utility, just a lot of effort in order to get that done. Although DarkZero bringing a pretty interesting operator that could assist them in a lot of that. It's going to be the Montang, and nothing really standing in his way trap-wise.
An easy walk to get himself up to the site, also supporting in the hard breach department if necessary as well. He's going to bring the 2 can openers. 2 actual dedicated hard breachers though between both Panda and Eclipse, so might not necessarily be needed. However, could help out with things like the hatches if they really need to try and speed things up, and he's a bit closer to the area. Regardless though, the Soniqs are playing into a bunker setup here. Pretty much everybody downstairs. Super obviously has his little extension out towards blue, but aside from that, everybody is nice and safely tucked away in the basement itself, meaning that once again, DarkZero will have all the time in the world to not only open up all this hatch work, but drone it out as much as they need to as well. And you can see again how this setup gets a little bit more complicated down inside of server. That mirror window allowing for quite a bit of extended play to come out from Rexon, and allowing him to really just swing into server if he wants to, with the additional support coming in from Super if he can rotate down to that deployable shield at the bottom of the stairs.
Interesting. Got the hatch open here. We'll also get the elevator hatch open as well. So a lot of options in DarkZero's disposal. We'll see which one they necessarily want to go with. As you can see, they've broken up a lot of these walls, making the transitions around this mid-floor a heck of a lot easier for themselves. Super going to start the transition to the bottom of the stairwell. Take out the camera that Hyper had on him, and Super's actually going to stick to this space. Now, he's going to have to play his life out here. If he tries to leave out that bottom stairwell, he's most definitely going to die to that hatch. But the beauty is he's got that M590 as well as the goggles, able to get through any utility thrown at him. Minus frag grenades. Obviously, the glasses really aren't going to help you with fragmentation, but it'll help you with everything else. Super playing this out in spades right now, so get to the top of the stairwell. An EMP will take out some of those ADSs, but nobody here to toss anything down low. Monty going to lock things up in the basement end, and oh, Super not ready for 2 people to be there. Hyper will gut him, and that's going to be the first frag going to DZ.
Like he was ready to take on the second challenger, but once again, the shot just not connecting as quickly as he needed it to. So Super falls down outright here. Yet he's still able to support again with the yokai drones, though, and that's what he tried to do in those final seconds. And while it did stun out the 2 players, it did not help by trying to pick up the kills as well. As Toxic Babe coming in too late. Canadian's just going to press the envelope here now since he's been able to get past it as well, taking out the mirror window and the support that will come with that, providing all the intel to chase this mirror down, and he's going to get the kill outright against it. Rexon trades for 2, though, as he goes back into Gold Vault and has the cutoff against the Red Hall here. So he'll save a little bit of this round for the Sonics, but still a lot of work to be done. Hold on. The Toxic Babe now dropping Eclipse and interrupting the Planet. Canadian has finally been taken out as well. Kansan gets the last kill, and somehow the Sonics rebound after a great assault comes in from Canadian on the Montaigne, and they pick up the first round of the defense instead.
That's an amazing play there from DarkZero, but Eclipse just walks into smoke and starts planting and doesn't get off and dies to that. He had a half HP there, and he just sat in it and died. And then obviously the rest of DarkZero just crumble after that because there's really no objective to be playing for. They have to try and turn around, get the case, and it's all for naught. I love the opening play here from DZ, but once again, Soniqs showing why they are one of the best teams in the NAL. They fight back in such convincing fashion, whether it be through utility or through gunplay. They're able to get it done, and just an oversight here from DZ. Very unfortunate for them, especially with how well that was going initially. They're going to be 6-picking off of the Thermite and bring in the Flores instead. Really like this adjustment, especially in the common day of Rainbow Six. Those Rotero drones are just paramount to people's success on offense. You don't have to deal with any, well, my discs, no Jaeger ADSs. The only thing you got to worry about, Mozzie and Mute. That's it. Just do not get those drones captured or shot, and you can get rid of so much utility if it's done correctly. And this is something that we've been seeing Eclipse do time and time again. You know, if I just had to like ballpark the number, he's probably got like an 80% success rate with these drones. They do not die very often. He's getting a lot done with this kit.
So things starting to look better for the Sonics here as they get started on their defensive end. That said, though, DarkZero nearly finding their own bout of success there, mainly due to Canadian's push with the Montaigne working out so well, providing that info dump and allowing for the additional Garage or main stairs players to push in without too much worry. But thankfully, again, Stokes was mentioning, the Sonics never giving up despite the odds that are stacked against them there. They rebounded, and with one mistake additionally made by a member of DarkZero there, it allowed for the Sonics to come back, prevent that plant from going down to the ground, and eventually wipe out the stragglers there in the basement. Sonics will, of course, have to move on to a different site here now as they go over towards the open area, where we're very quickly going to see Canadian and Eclipse open up that window for themselves here to try and get some easy access, and most importantly, as well, let more of those Rotero drones in to try and open up more soft destruction here to give them an easier path to the site.
DarkZero will be continuing the battle for consistency here inside of round 8, trying to mimic what Soniqs have been able to do throughout this game thus far. Yes, able to fight back from the defensive side, but these offenses not coming so easily as those previous 3 rounds. Soniqs obviously up 4-3 at the moment and going to try and continue that lead with this open area defense. Their take on it, though, just a little bit different. No Mira here this time around. Have the Valkyrie as well as the Evil Eyes out. We've been seeing the Soniqs use this throughout a handful of maps, just really leaning into that intel game and trying to assist their team as much as possible. And that's actually partnered with some very strong utility across the board. We got good info denial as well as the castle barricades coming through just to cut off a couple of different angles that are pretty abusable for the offense, making a lot of different spaces a heck of a lot more playable. Very solid intel upstairs just to see what these players will be doing soon enough for DZ as they're about halfway through the moment.
Things coming in from NJR. This is again where we started to see issues pop up for our attackers in the last half here, but be the case this time as DarkZero still have an adequate amount of control for themselves to continue moving forward here. But as well, with a little under half the round remaining, still plenty of time for DarkZero to figure out how exactly they want to approach the site. They won't be stressed for quite a while here in terms of the overall time bank, as they're continuing to take their time with it to make sure they open up all possible avenues here and as well exercise all possible frags they could potentially get against the more extended players of the Soniqs before they try to commit to the site here towards the end of the round. And it's going to work out for them as Panba eventually hunts out Yeti, taking him down and giving them that 5v4 advantage they've been looking for even further now, with additional top-down angles being opened up over CEO here. NJR is going to be able to find Grixer and eliminate him to bring this down to a 5v3.
Soniqs have been so solid and playing quite patient and seeing what their opposing squad is going to do, but sometimes it comes back to bite you. DarkZero gets a little bit too much control as of right now, and they're able to find so many frags because of it. Some very solid intel coming through onto Printer as well for Kansan, but no shots sent downrange just yet. So many people to worry about, and a frag grenade on top of him. NJR will pick up the kill. Rexon will be able to at least get one for his troubles, but how far does this go? Nitro Cell out. It won't tag anybody. He's got frag grenades coming in from Elevator as well. Can't land his shots, but Hyper can, as DarkZero will tie things up yet again.
There's nowhere for anyone on the Soniqs to run, and on top of that, too static inside of their own setup. They're allowing for DarkZero to set up everything they need. Once Yeti had fallen there as well, it's all just a matter of finding a proficient trade route to get themselves into the site. They don't even really need that as they execute every member of the Soniqs one by one. Stick with us here, folks, as we are going to go into a short technical timeout. Hopefully is going to be just a quick fix for us as we quickly look to reset that player's issue.
Very interesting things happening between these two squads, though, and, you know, the minor adjustments being the biggest thing. I think the Soniqs have a lot of respect for what DarkZero is doing across the map, no matter the situation. Yes, there's quite a few of these rounds that have went in very convincing fashion their way with some very early picks and what have you, but, I mean, DarkZero are no slouch, and that's something that the Soniqs have been really keen on thus far. Especially with these last couple of rounds. That last round especially, just the map control that the Soniqs ended up giving up to DZ. It just went too far at that moment. At some moment in time, you have to make a stand, and I believe that that's what Yeti was initially doing, and he more than likely just got picked there, and then, you know, it's just the trickle effect, or, you know, a snowball. Either one you want to go with.
Yeah, the kill happened off screen, but I'm going to assume Yeti tried to go a little bit more adventurously out and about to try and find that kill, and that's the unfortunate issue, is they kind of lose the benefit that they've been working with on their attacking side of usually having a buddy system for those types of pushes there. So without the instant capability to trade that back out, now the team's just taking a massive risk, especially doing it so late into the round there. And ultimately that just is the beginning of the end and allows DarkZero to begin their execute to move into the site.
Yeah, and especially because we were harping on DarkZero earlier for that as well. It just seemed like the buddy system really would have assisted them with a couple of those initial rounds, but obviously righted their wrongs in those last 3 rounds for their defensive side, but the offense started to come together pretty well. You know, for the Soniqs, though, I think there's some adjustments here that they can make, and this tech timeout is going to be helping both of these squads in doing so. So we'll see exactly what they want to go with. I mean, when you have 2 of the most experienced IGLs on your teams, you know, there's probably going to be some pretty serious things to go down in a minute worth of free time.
Absolutely the case. And ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, we'd like to welcome you to the NAL 2021 season finals. It's DarkZero up against the Soniqs here in our grand final. We are in the midst of map number 1. Just on a short technical pause here for a second, but these teams are deadlocked at the moment here in the second half of the map. at 4-4. On our first map as well of Bank, plenty more action to be coming though later on. And once again, just like yesterday's series, we get to potentially finish this one off with a Coastline, as we've already seen Coastlines lead to these very, very fun maps, and I think we'll get the same thing here. DarkZero bringing a much more structured take to the table here compared to what we were necessarily seeing from Oxygen yesterday, but that combination on top of what usually goes up against the Soniqs here is going to make for some very, very fun gameplay, as we've already been seeing this shift around inside of the first 7 or 8 rounds we've played out already.
All right, well, with Rexon and Papa Super walking off stage, I'm assuming that's bathroom break time. And people are going to be hanging out for a couple of more minutes. So should be just a couple of moments, fans, and then we'll jump right back into this. But hopefully you guys are having a good time, because this Bank so far has been pretty back and forth. Granted, it really hasn't been that deep inside of the strategy department. It's really just been about these picks and what both of these teams have been able to do there. But, I mean, still, there's been some very serious adjustments across the board that have made things quite entertaining. Really love what the Soniqs were doing with Yeti throughout the entirety of that offensive side. Just so much pressure coming from him, and DarkZero constantly having to be aware of his positioning. So much so that Canadian has to drop everything that he's doing, run all the way downstairs with Pulse, and try and figure out how to counter this.
You were mentioning the simplicity of strategy, and that's to be somewhat expected here. Keep in mind, folks, we have SI coming up in about 2 months. There's a very good possibility that teams may have strategies that they can bring out, but realistically, just think about it. Where would you want to bring those strategies out at?
John, would you want $75,000
or like the lion's share of up to like $2 to $3 million, depending on what the prize pool ends up being?
You know, there's this really cool thing in Siege as well. I don't know if you know. You know, we have a hammer. You know that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like there's this thing, and it like, now granted, guys, I've picked it up. It's not real.
I like, look, production's getting jealous.
We also have this. I'm sorry, guys. Listen. This trophy is amazing. We were talking about this earlier, and I was actually talking to one of our representatives from Ubisoft. This thing is fully foraged. People straight up hammered this thing together.
Forged, right?
Forged, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Did I say that a little wonky?
He said foraged.
Did I say
like
foraged?
they were picking berries
Porridge?
or something.
Forage?
Yes, forged.
Forged. Listen, man, I'm no Smith. I played Minecraft like 1 time. I'm just kidding. I played Minecraft a lot. I have no excuses.
It's a really cool piece as well. And
really
whoever our winning team is today is going to be able to walk up to the center of the stage, lift that, and take it home along with $75,000 they're going to get for first place. Second place team is going to be taking home $45,000 as well, but that's a big difference of $30,000 when your first and second place finish. That's a lot of cheddar you're going to have to spend if you take first today.
You took my line. I was going to say that's
Sorry.
a lot of cheddar. Now I'm just... It's got a lot of heft to it, man.
A lot of moolah.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. A lot of money. Anybody is going to want to get home with that bag. $30,000 could pay off my car. I mean, hey, come on. Please, I mean, if you guys are looking to donate to charity,
like asking?
I mean, hey, maybe. I mean, it really just depends on if they want to give me the money or not. That depends on if I'm asking.
So once again, folks, looks like we have most of the Soniqs back now, so I think we're just waiting on the admins to sort out the issue over on DarkZero's side, as I believe it's a problem with one of their PCs. If we have any updates, we will give them to you as soon as we are presented with them. But once again, the Soniqs here are the ones more than likely needing to make an adjustment over these next few rounds here, providing a little bit too passive of play, at least on the inside of that most recent site choice. It is looking like they're going to potentially change that. I don't want to give away what it is just yet here because we're not back in the game yet, but it's looking like they're going to move to a different site instead of reattempting that open area hold for themselves. They feel they're going to have much better luck on a more, I think, tight-knit site is what I would call this one, but like I said, I'll hold my breath until we actually get back in the game and we have confirmation that that's where we're going to be going.
A little bit more congested, not as easy to rotate out of, you know?
Easier for them to control in the long run if they want to continue to play passively here. That's probably going to work out better for them. Less things to worry about, less holes that someone from potentially DarkZero could sneak in through, and that ultimately will probably work out better for them, as we already saw back on the first round of this half in the basement hole.
Yeah, and Executive is just already easier to play, at least in this situation, because of the buck ban. So, what's up?
Gave it away.
Oh, well, you know...
It's not that big of a deal.
How dare I?
They could change it, but more than likely it's going to be
This is in before we're being piped into Vegas right now, and they're like, oh, interesting.
Yeah,
well, the good news is they can't change operators, so it's fine. Once they're locked in, they're locked in. We're good.
DarkZero is like social media managers in the stands, like giving hand signals now.
It's like,
obviously not.
Please
joke,
blink twice. Please blink twice. Yeah, Goddess is just in the front row and just like giving all of this over to the Soniqs right now. But either way, folks, we are just around the corner from hopping back into this one. You can see the Soniqs rearing to go. Maybe except for Yeti. Could possibly take a power nap really quickly, but you know he probably wouldn't hit the gym this morning, so he's got an excuse.
Get the salts. Get him the
smelling salts.
Yeah. I found out what that was like when I was doing interviews with the players a week ago, and it's like,
did you smell it?
No. Because apparently it's like a really like repulsive smell or something, and it just like wakes you up,
Yeah.
basically. So like that's why they do it.
Yeah, it's almost like a jump start for you. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's not like putrid. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, that's bad. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, like,
So,
yeah.
so if you ever see someone smelling a big rock, that's the reason why. Because that's pretty much what it is. Just a big rock that they're smelling.
Oh my God! I can just see people in the parking lot of the YMCA. And you just see them pick up this massive stone in their car and just.
Anyway,
hey man, you want to sniff of this?
Enough about dodgy-looking things on the stage.
Like,
Let's get back.
sir,
in
get away from me
game.
with that.
As we're getting into this match once again, we've solved the technical issue, and we are headed into our 9th round here. Currently deadlocked at 4-4. Soon to be 5-4 for one of these teams, though. Will be the Soniqs, like I said, going to a little bit more of a close-to-the-chest side as they move upstairs in a CEO, or will DarkZero continue to find their own bout of success here? A little bit of a slow build-up for them, but after they get that first kill or two, a lot of confidence brews into their execute as they rush into the site, and as we saw in that previous round, have no problems executing the remainder of Sonic's setup back and open.
Back upstairs and have checkers available to play inside of this 4-4 score line. We'll see which team wants to play chess, though. It's both of them. A couple of different new things going on about them. Grix will be bringing the Echo to the top floor, just like we saw DZ do previously. And we'll see if they want to play this around the elevator space, most notably towards that stock area. As for DarkZero, they'll be bringing Eclipse on the major hard breach, as well as Pambazoo on Ace. Should be pretty consistent for him, especially given the AK-12 and how dangerous Pambazoo is as a player overall. But as for DZ, they'll be actually bringing the Thatcher into play. Although we have been seeing some pretty solid bans for this one and how they've been working out. We haven't seen Thatcher all that much. We saw him in the initial round there for DZ, assisted pretty well, but that still fell apart. We'll have him here for round 9. We'll see how far DZ can get.
Obviously, Thatcher has changed a bit since he became proficient inside of the ban pool there, even when he was more of like a half ban in terms of when he would be actually knocked out here. He would obviously have the benefit of actually destroying the utility pieces, which obviously he no longer does, just disables them for a temporary period of time.
Thank you,
now,
Papa
so
Ubisoft. Thank
yeah,
you so much.
As you just saw there on the right side with the ADS there, as one of those EMPs goes off, it's only going to cause about a 10-second delay in terms of that utility, then it'll come back alive again. That 10 seconds will be very useful, however, for DZ to try and push themselves forward and get specifically access to stock here, as Rexon has had to swing around the corner and outside of it due to that EMP going off.
Make things kind of awkward inside of this elevator space and give DarkZero some time to start holding things up and gathering map control, forcing Soniqs deeper and deeper towards that west side. It's in the moment. As for the Soniqs, though, checking out the amount of utility that they're bringing to the table and the different answers they could have for this situation. Don't really have anybody down low and no real space to try and adjust that, so Super more than likely going to stick inside of this space with that Nitro Cell. Not going to see anybody trying to work that mid-level, so basically just going to be some heads-up gunfights around these mirror windows. Yet it'll be all the way up in checkers. Won't be rocking the M590 this time around. Oh, no, no, no. He'll be rocking the MP5K instead with that 1.5 just to deal with some of these longer range engagements. As DarkZero rearing to go, they'll pop open the other wall here for Square and start working their way towards Janitor.
Canadian inching his way towards the J-hole here, as well as checking
Nice.
out back over past the projector room. Beautifully done, or past CEO rather. Takes out Yeti, eliminates him, and prevents that wild player that's been causing issues from DarkZero to do the same here on the outset of the 9th round. I say the outset, but we're coming down to the final minute here now. So DarkZero does need to pick up the pace a bit, but with that first kill once again going into their favor, that's the boost they needed in clean fashion as well to allow the rest of this execute to go off without many other reservations.
JR with a big pick as well onto Kansan rather, but unbeknownst to Soniqs, don't really know where the rest of these players will be pushing in from, and it's going to be a very quick execute. As you'd expect out of DarkZero, whenever you see Canadian in a position like that, and he's just constantly moving back and forth in between two angles, that usually means that there's something else going on the map, and they're simply waiting for that setup to come through. This time it goes off with flying colors. Soniqs with no real answer to any of these situations, and some very big pickups coming out from the DZ side as they'll take the lead for the very first time here.
We're going to see Soniqs immediately call for a tactical timeout. I think it's a perfect time to do it here. We've tried the open strategy. We've tried the more flowing strategy. We've tried the bunker strategy on the most recent round. They're upstairs inside of the CEO hold. It hasn't worked out. Now it's time to figure out what's going wrong here. Maybe get some input from the coach and decide what the path forward is going to be here. As they're losing a lot of rounds now. They're allowing for DarkZero to take control. They only need 2 more to close out this map. Soniqs needs to quickly find their grasp, otherwise DarkZero is going to charge forward here after a bit of a bumpy start at a 3-3 on their defensive side to be able to take control of the opening map here on Bank.
Something that we highlighted from the Soniqs as well as Oxygen yesterday instead of their best of 3 was their ability to get in the way of the execute and, you know, try and have some very aggressive plays in order to do so. A lot of setup going on, especially on Clubhouse. It was really well highlighted where time and time again the Soniqs would just thwart any plan that Oxygen had for them inside of that round. But this time around, the Soniqs on more of a passive hold like you were talking about. They didn't feel like the free-flowing defense was really working, but nothing's working in the moment simply because they're allowing DZ to set up. And usually when the execute is rearing to go, it goes off pretty damn well, especially when you have Canadian on your squad and putting everyone in those perfect spots almost every single time. So once again, DZ taking the lead here as they're set up for round 10. And we're going to be seeing very similar playbooks in between these two as Hyper will be switching out from the Zofia and bringing in the Nook for some sneaky gameplay.
Soniqs, the good news on the horizon for them is that they can now rebound to the basement site. They've already been able to control this one back on the first round, but only just barely. That's mainly, again, due to a mistake made from DarkZero, specifically in terms of messing up their plant procedure and the following kills that came in from that, as well as the great cutoff, I believe, from Kansan inside of the Gold Bar's vault that allowed for them to get some control back to eventually retake the site. They'll need to have much greater control over the overall situation this time, as if not, very easily see DarkZero walk their way through it. DarkZero, they're going to even bring a different layout this time. Last time, they had Canadian on the Montaigne, which allowed them unrestricted access to this site as they just waltz right in specifically for him. Not going to have that this time, but they are going to have the added benefit of the Rotero drones to deal with a whole bunch of soft destruction, maybe deal with quite a bit of utility inside of the site as well.
Yeah, those Rotero drones, just like we were talking about earlier, so solid for getting rid of a lot of these defensive standpoints that are really far reaches of the site, specifically around that blue space area. And once again, this has been popped. Now, here's the thing. I saw this be popped the last time as well, so either there's some very critical blunders happening with shotguns inside of these defensive rounds, or it's intended to be open. There's only two options there.
Which hatch?
Well, not the hatch, the mirror window down low,
Gotcha.
the one sitting on the single panel for CCTV. What I actually think it's for is I think it's for Grixer to use his mirror that's standing up a little bit taller to actually see people back there, and he can more than likely abuse that angle and just shoot them in behind the server hatch. That's something that is a big thing inside of Rainbow Six. You can do it with windows and a whole myriad of other things. But away from that, DarkZero is already inside of the building, more specifically Hyper, as he's just walking his way down Marble currently, already on the bottom landing and looking to push himself even further, but doesn't want to get too far ahead. He won't be rocking the frag grenades either. He'll have the secondary hard breach, so be able to assist in some of these hatches. As for the Soniqs, I thought Super was going to be playing a little bit farther away from the blue stairs, just given that he did not bring the Warden this time, but it's still the same game plan. To see if he's got the deployable shield inside of that space to assist him. I'm assuming that's where Yeti's shield went, but we'll have to see.
Wait here, the Sonic continuing to kind of just wait this one out, wait to see what DarkZero is going to bring to the table, more importantly, how they're going to bring the strategy to the table here. Set things up for this final half of the round. Already a minute and a half having transpired here. Hatch going to open up access to the servers downstairs here, but Super still standing in the way over by the blue stairs themselves. Won't be able to proceed on that route anytime soon unless they want to try and ignore the position from Super, which probably wouldn't be too wise. They'd be setting themselves up for a sandwich. Drones will be checking that out regardless, but it does seem like DarkZero shifting at least some of the presence over towards a different part of the map, whether that's going to be the direct drop in through the red hall or potentially going down through the elevators for a bit of a safer path. Either way, Soniqs have Overwatch on every single option here as DarkZero tries to make up their mind.
Fantastic way to apply yourself to Bank. You want to open up all of those hatches and keep the defense guessing, because what that does is stretch them out. Just look at the Soniqs positioning right now. Granted, the basement is a little congested in the way that it's put together, so they're going to be playing decently tight-knit, but it's still going to make it difficult for them to try and assist their teammates with all of this calamity going on. This is something that we highlighted yesterday when it comes down to communication. Kansan actually going to be able to trade out Rex, and as he'll get down, he'll double up on the Toxic Babes and try and assist him, but he should see one on the stairwell. No frags coming through just yet, but Pambazoo will finally clean it up as Rexon gets to his feet, but immediately gets set back down. NJR, he'll lose his life, as well as DarkZero's trying to figure out how to get into sight currently, but Canadian's got some pretty solid positioning. Hyper going to lose out initially on this fight, but has the Deagle now. Is he ready for him to be prone? He is. Kansan will lose it. Hyper with 2. The Deagle, it's popping off, but it's also got a low mag as well. Canadian's been down. Pambazoo with 1, but he can't get the last. It's going to be a 0-0 as the Soniqs will tie us up yet again.
Unfortunately, too little time at the end of the day for DarkZero to make that play work. So many frags going back and forth. Nobody really in control of that situation at any point as we come down to the final 15 seconds or so. So the Soniqs ultimately take the advantage as a result of that one, with the time finally running out in their favor and a solid hold being made to delay all that time away in the first place by them. 5-5 is now the scoreline, but truly, we need to wait until this upcoming round here to see how the Soniqs are going to be tested. They failed to pick up sites outside of that basement, so we have to see if they can finally find success as they once again go towards the open area for this upcoming round.
I mean, this has turned into a match in between these two for Bank. A lot of strategy going back and forth in between the two. DarkZero on that execute just not able to gather the control inside of the site in the way that they wanted to. It wasn't very convincing, especially with NJR just not able to land his shots initially. He gets a decent amount done with the Deagle in pretty impressive fashion, to be fair, but as we were talking about, he just pushes it a little bit too far and runs into some hot water. So as for the Soniqs right now, some adjustments they can seriously depend on to try and get these next handful of rounds, because it's on a knife's edge right now. 5-5, this can literally go any direction, and with some, adjustments inside of the round, this could be a quick 2 rounds for either of these teams.
Absolutely the case. Soniqs will deploy themselves to an extended roam upstairs, and we're even going to see the usual double wall setup with the mirror window supporting it here as Yeti, or someone else from the team is going to be taking up that position. A few other members of the team will continue to roam around, it seems, on this upstairs spot to try and get a little bit more aggressive than we saw in the last hold attempt for them, when they played much more into the site, let kind of DarkZero set up their execute, hoping that they could hold it in the late run, but that clearly was not the case. So this time, a little bit of a different flow coming out from the Soniqs here to try to fend off DarkZero in those initial 2 minutes or so of play.
Big operator to highlight here for the Soniqs is going to be Yeti. You want to see these goo mines constantly annoying these DZ members. This is going to be the adjustment from Malusi being banned inside of this one, just because of how congested these hallways can get. You have to try and deal with those Banshees. You have to walk through them. It's very, very good intel. So without those, Soniqs have to try and lean on something else, and Legion is always going to fit that bill. So have them for this one. See what Yeti can get done with these goo mine placements. But we're already about 45 seconds in here as DarkZero continue to work the north side rappel.
So that rappel now being set up, it's up to DarkZero to be able to actually figure out these players, 1 or 2 of them, whatever it may be. Kansan's going to continue to play around the mirror window here. We are going to see the Selma deployed to that window to quickly take care of it, though. So bye-bye to the strong position deployed here by Kansan, as he now has to sit back and kind of wait in the corner here until a call comes out or until he feels it's necessarily safe to try and make a play. Yeti will never even get that chance in the meanwhile, as he's going to be naded out instantaneously by Canadian here before he can even escape the stock room here. So there goes that matrix of defense, and Kansan really no longer with any choice to play in the J. He has to drop down, look for another route closer to the site to play into.
Luckily enough, the Soniqs still have quite a few members around the entirety of the map that can play spoils to DZ's plans, especially with them looking to favor this top floor. Just overall with the utility, this is something that's going to be paramount to their success. So really looking to see if NJR can begin working on those vertical angles, especially at a moment's notice. I mean, look at this timer, 1 minute and 15 seconds left. Grixer's got the initial frag as well onto Eclipse, so already losing hard breachers. And this is starting to dwindle, but obviously a solid trade out for Yeti, so still locked into the 4 versus 4, but this next minute is still going to be quite difficult for DZ. Really need to start leaning into this control, as Hyper actually might have some shots here, but it's actually Pambazoo and Super with a Nitro cell will actually clean up Canadian, keeping us locked into the 3 versus 3.
Yeah, +1 advantage still for the Darks, or rather, no, evening it out now with those most recent trades, excuse me, as these do come down to the final 45 seconds of play. Super continuing to wait things out from behind his own mirror window setup, and Kansan supporting slightly from his back angle in the actual site from behind one of those cubicles. Hyper, along with the other 2 members of DarkZero, are very, very cautiously looking for the appropriate route to take into the site, and it does look like they're mainly going to try to push in from Teller's side here, trying to get the pressure in from that avenue and having Hyper leap in late by going down through the hatch. NJR, of course, with the hammer in mind, can easily open up this soft breached angle to divert himself over through the main stairs entry and work himself in that way, but Grixer fends off the first bit of that pressure. Pamba goes down, Kansan reads the drops from miles away, and the swipe on the SMG-11 to finish it off. Beautifully held by the Soniqs in the 3v3, and they'll be the first to chase up to map point here.
Extremely well done. DarkZero just did not get enough done with their map control on that top floor. Couldn't abuse it in the way that they wanted to, and the Soniqs playing so very safe on the mid floor. Delay enough time and apply pressure to DarkZero. They're forced to push, and it simply does not work out for them. Either way, though, Soniqs up and on to match point. They can still close it out inside of regulation. They're looking to do so on the Executive Lounge and CEO. No major change up just yet. We'll have Super back on the Mira. See what else it could possibly bring to the table here, as we had been seeing. Echo, Grixer will be on that. Yeti going to 6-pick away from the mute. And yes, Yeti, we know you're on Valkyrie. So we'll have that now, just to have some extra intel to be able to assist them. Canadian with a big change up here as well. Either way, either pick he went with there, I would have really, really appreciated it. I think the Monty will help them out just a little bit more with pressuring specifically around the janitor space. But we'll have to see. Just remember that the last round that we saw this is when Canadian popped off with a rifle on, I believe, Yana, if I'm remembering correctly. So either way, you know, Canadian can still get some very serious things done here with Monty, but it is going to be in a different fashion.
Soniqs deploying once again into the upstairs CEO hold for themselves to try and maintain control over this map and over this matchup overall. What would be a 1-0 lead for them here. Once again, that we already saw with these extended positions. Just on the last round in the extended hold itself, they had problems holding on to areas like Stock and J, and those areas are going to be tested just as prominently as they were in the last round. There may be a little bit more support in those areas this time around when it comes to the Soniqs' own deployment of defensive utilities such as mitigation through things like the ADSs and whatnot, as well as the my magnets that are going to come out from Kansan. So that may make these setups last a little bit longer, but overall, they still have to be ready to take the fights here, and they simply weren't in the last round here. So that could cause some worry for the Soniqs as this round gets into the action phase, and DarkZero start to press in from ATM and a few other positions on the map.
30 seconds off the clock for DarkZero's opening match side of this. Once again, Regulation looking to close out for the Soniqs as they'll be defending this top floor. Kansan, we're towards the back end here of the elevator hallway. Very well-known, prominent location, usually called Laxing Spot, just for how often he plays inside of that elevator there. But it'll be for Kansan as of right now, looking to see what DarkZero's next move will be. They get an EMP up here and try and clear out these walls, but Kansan picks Panbazoo, and that is a detriment right now. That's the only player in this entire lineup you could not lose. Losing that ace does so much to this. They can't get any pressure over the elevator hallway anymore. Canadian's going to have to try and read that out. I mean, what a shot from Kansan. Only 8 and 8, but even with an even scoreline, he's finding these influential frags.
Not even to mention that the Soniqs, they are probably going to, especially looking at Yeti right now here, but they really don't need to try and get too aggressive here anymore. They have the player advantage they need. In theory, they could just trade their way to a win when DarkZero are forced into an execute, but they still have kind of every right here to keep the pressure up in addition because of that kill that they just picked up here. And here comes Yeti. He has the right of initiation. Eclipse as well. Can't lock in as to where he's coming from, so he gets caught. Cans with another one as well. This double down on the aggression works out brilliantly for the Soniqs as they get 2 additional picks, and now DarkZero only rely on Hyper and NJR to save themselves and take this map to overtime. NJR with a good opportunity to trade out at least 1 kill, and he's going to use it to hop in. Hyper similarly gets an opening kill finally for this team, so DZ not out of the fight just yet, especially with NJR getting that kill. Grixer, though, puts an end to the run from NJR and leaves it all on Hyper. Still on the first floor, by the way, as he's now trying to traverse his way up the main stairs, into position on the second to assault the site. Reads into this play by the Stocks room, but it's not going to be enough. Rexon closes it out, and the Soniqs take map number 1 of the NAL Grand Final.
The Soniqs constantly finding the bigger plays than DarkZero inside of this one. DZ making a very strong stand when it came down to their defensive half, but just couldn't put it together for the offense. I really like some of the ideas that they had mulling around in their heads, but it just really seemed like the Monty never worked out in a convincing fashion. But either way, that's going to be done and dusted for the very first map, as the Soniqs will take the dub.
Look at how focused, again, the Soniqs are here as well. You can see Joe kind of handed out information, very important information from the looks of the way he's talking here too. Soniqs are keeping themselves nice and focused as they're going to get ready pretty much immediately to head into that second match. They take a quick break for themselves, of course, and DarkZero will do the same to try and reset themselves here. The individuals from the Soniqs are on fire right now, and with the confidence continuing to brim out from players like Rexon, as we saw at the beginning of that round, and eventually Yeti with the swing onto the banana balcony as well. The Soniqs are going to be a very, very tough team to take down here throughout the rest of this series as we head into our second and ultimately our third maps if we need it, and DarkZero rebounds on map number 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Soniqs working a lot of this out through aggression and their gunplay, but it's calculated. That's what I really, really like to see, especially from their offensive side. We saw them work that info game masterfully time and time again. So just seeing this aggression coming through and working out in such convincing fashion, you got to be happy for the lads, I'm telling you, especially with that last kill coming out of Kansan. I mean, it takes a lot in order to swing in that way when things are just that close to going to overtime. So it can get a little shaky sometimes, but Kansan able to land those shots in such a key moment and able to take this one inside of regulation. The Soniqs have got to be happy with that first map.
indeed the case. No crazy stuff from Super just as of yet here, but there's still plenty of opportunities for him and the rest of the Sonics to step things up. That's going to do it for the two of us for now. We're going to send it back down to Veli and the desk to break this map down and get us ready for map number 2.
Welcome back to the desk, and bing bong, like Stokes said, Kansan was definitely hitting the shots, and Soniqs, they're going to be up on bank 1-0, and they're looking so good here in the grand finals, right here on the desk, and the highlights brought to us by the beautiful people at Predator, C-Daps, and Jacob. What are your thoughts?
We wanted to know how the Soniqs were going to play bank. We never see them play it before in the North American League. We only saw them do it one time against NIP at the Sweden Major. That was a 7-2. It was a blowout. That was NIP. They would be eventual grand finalists, so maybe it's not the end of the world. In this case, against another North American squad, it was going to be a much different battle, and DarkZero and NIP are completely different squads at the end of the day. Soniqs had a game plan. First 3 rounds looked like they were exquisite. Those attacks were beautiful, and then DarkZero formed a comeback, but ultimately it wasn't enough.
Yeah, you can understand the thought process of DarkZero to want to go to a map like Bank. They've shown affinity towards playing, and the Soniqs haven't quite, but it almost feels like with DZ kind of struggling on the map overall, it might not have necessarily been the best step. Like,
Right.
the map bans, as we know, it's a duel, and they activated a Joe Bro trap card right there. They walked right into it, and now they're facing down the barrel of elimination early.
Yeah, C-Daps, one thing you were definitely loving at the beginning, of course, was Grixer getting those early kills. On the side of Soniqs, that came quite often.
Yeah, for the Soniqs, the matchup that they have so many players that have potential for opening frags. It's one of those things that you really expect them to constantly be at that man advantage. That's why earlier on I highlighted that NJR really needs to step up. He needs to be the one in the mid-round to help with those adaptations, to try to get the man advantage back onto the side of DZ, either towards their executes or when they're kind of pulling back on their defensive roams to stop Soniqs when they were executing. When they were able to do that, they found success, but other than that, they weren't really able to get anything going.
And actually, we were talking about it in the green room. NJR looked fantastic on Sledge. And actually, we have the stats to throw it up on the screen and take a look at it. Hyper 12-8 on DarkZero. Put up a valiant effort, but the loss was there as they lose 5-7. But on the side of Soniqs, Grixer is on top, and he was one of our players to watch. 10 kills and that one opening kill. He was perfect, Jacob.
Looked like Eclipse needed to have a stronger day. He was MVP of yesterday, and he absolutely deserved it, but not the same showing that he had from either of the or any of those 3 maps played in their series against SSG. So looking for him to step up now more a little bit. I don't mind the NJR highlight, but Eclipse was at the bottom of the scoreboard this time because he is playing in that support capacity, so we don't even expect him to top the scoreboard, but still, I think DarkZero in some cases were almost like more meticulous than they needed to be. Sometimes they'd go in, they'd try to get all around a site, check every single box, almost like how they do on Clubhouse attacks in the past, but it seemed like they had too much going on all at the same time, and when they finally did move in, there was some rounds where it worked when they got, all 4 to 5 kills all in a row, and there was no retaliation from the Soniqs on defense, but it still might serve to be a problem. Sometimes Rexon was the playmaker. That man had a triple kill down in Gold Vault on basement when they were defending it at one point, and Grixer continues to be solid. He was right there rating-wise with Eclipse from their performance from yesterday, so already if Grixer keeps this kind of performance up, maybe a Finals MVP award is on the cards for him.
I have a question for you, Jacob.
Yeah.
How do you feel about, DarkZero's first time on Bank? Sonic's first time on Bank, I'm sorry about that.
I mean, it was good. I feel like it wasn't the first time. It was the first time in North America, which is super important because you play against an IP. They're always going to be aggressive and combative, and they'll understand timings a lot. That's like a Latin American playground. Well, we'll keep on calling it that. But for North America, it's played far more meticulously because it's so much bigger. You have way more things that you have to account for, and sometimes it means there's somebody hiding in a rat spot, or you have to drone consistently to make sure that the rat spots themselves don't exist, or it's a window repel simulator. You take Consulate out, you put Bank in, it's the same kind of story. For the Soniqs, they looked very comfortable and didn't allow some of the things DarkZero did, especially on defense, to phase them. They got into the building and had 2 entry kills for the price of 1, where you'd normally get it through those first 3 rounds, to a point where DarkZero had to take their attack time out and completely refocus. I think because of that 3-round stretch at the beginning of the map, it probably meant that there wasn't a way for DZ to really get back into it. If they only won 2 as opposed to 3 rounds in a row, maybe a comeback is possible, but it seemed like that was just too fast of a start for DZ to really recuperate from.
We talked about early rounds and kills in number 3. Canadian was the leading fragger when it came to opening kills, which was 3, of course, and also on the other side, on that same side of DarkZero, they really didn't do so well. And you weren't a fan at all when it came to their Bane.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, like Jacob was saying earlier, it was almost too meticulous. And when you have operators at your disposal, like Thatcher, like Flores, those are the operators that allow you to just bypass utility setups. You don't need to burn, you can simplify the game a lot, but they weren't quite taken advantage of by DarkZero. That could have been a real catalyst for stronger attacks overall, but instead they opted for the Monty, and we kind of saw how that works out. When a Monty meets a mirror window, even if Super's on the other side of it, it's not a pretty picture.
It was something that they tried like against Astralis in the NAL from before, and they did it a little bit more at the major. And I don't mind a Monty being one of the flex picks for Canadian, because we know in this new look DZ he will kind of play whatever the situation requires. But still, it's pretty ineffectual. I like the thought process. I love the idea, but like you mentioned, in execution it was pretty lackluster.
Well, that's what you like. C-Dap, so I'm going to see if you're going to like this. Map number 2, we're going to Clubhouse, which is going to be the pick for the Soniqs. How do you feel about this matchup from what we saw here on Bank, map number 1?
Well, you can draw a lot of similarities with Bank and Clubhouse, but Clubhouse is one of those ones that it's a lot more linear. There's a lot more variables in Bank, but it almost feels like Clubhouse. You solve a couple of those equations, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's a little bit more simple. I like the Clubhouse for Soniqs. We saw Super be super athletic yesterday. Like, you were absolutely popping off when that 3K happened. We were all jumping and screaming, and overall, the way that the roam can be established for the defenses of Soniqs, Clubhouse almost seems tailor-made for them.
Yes, you're right. Jacob, final thoughts.
Clubhouse was played by both teams yesterday. Both teams won it in their series, and we still have Coastline that we have to go to afterwards, and I don't even want to think about what happens if we get there. But the Soniqs did something that no team yesterday was capable of doing, winning their opponent's map pick. Kind of a big deal, because I don't really know if DarkZero knew what to expect from Soniqs on Bank, but now this is well more understood. This is a known commodity. VODs of this exist, and I do expect both teams to have prepped pretty hardcore for what a Clubhouse looks like on both sides of things. Remember when DarkZero and like the old Disrupt team back in the day were clashing on this map, and we were all like, this is Disrupt's best map? They kind of fell through the cracks, but DarkZero have kind of kept this one at least relatively consistent. From what we've seen so far, I'd call it one of their better maps, because in North American competition, they have yet to lose it in 2021.
You know why? Because they have Canadian and NJR. They run
Come on,
Clubhouse,
dude.
man.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here on the desk. We're excited for Clubhouse. Map number 2. We're going to see if Soniqs can just go ahead and just stick a nail in the coffin and put DarkZero to bed to be the champion here for the NAL. But after this break, map number 2 is coming up, and I can't wait. We'll see you on the other side.
What does it take to create the future of a gaming community? Join us on this 4th episode of I Call Next as we discover how to level up gameplay and reset the expectations of an entire league. PayPal. Press play.
If you want to get better, try reviewing your game footage. Insights.gg's game capture tool makes recording and reviewing fast and easy. With no lag, automatic recording, and instant highlights, it's never been easier to learn from your gameplay. Try it for free at insights.gg today.
And we are back once again, ladies and gentlemen, here for more action at the NAL 2021 Grand Finals. It has come down to two final teams to try and lift the trophy and take home the lion's share of the prize pool available here to our NAL teams. It's DarkZero versus the Soniqs, and Soniqs gave us a definitive showing on our first map on Bank. Time to head into the second one to see if they can seal the deal in quick 2-0 fashion, or if DZ is looking to clap back themselves and take this to a third map on Coastline. Stokes, What do you think about this one as we get ready to head into Clubhouse?
Well, we saw some very interesting things on Bank, John. A lot of different play styles coming out from both squads, most notably DarkZero coming through with that Monty. It just really wasn't working out in convincing fashion in relation to what Canadian was able to get done on true-to-heart weaponry. So we'll have to see what they want to do here with Clubhouse. It's still going to be very strategy-based, but as we all know, this map is so very congested, very tight-knit. You're going to be in that CQC moments with the opposing squad. So should be a lot of fun. But enough mincing of words, folks. Clubhouse is ready as we start it for DarkZero and Soniqs.
Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen, and see if the Soniqs can close down our NAL Finals for 2021 here and claim themselves as the champion after arguably one of the most controversial starts for a team this year with a rebuild of the entire roster, save for Super. They are just a few rounds away now from being the overall champions of this entire division. First ban up, though, is going to be Thatcher, as we align pretty well with the meta for our first two bans. Hibana also going to follow that up as the Soniqs make their first choice, with the second coming up in just a second as our first defender ban.
All right, well, we'll see what they want to do to the defensive side, but the offensive side, we're all used to this, so it'll be Hibana affecting a lot of those hatches as well as some of those hard-to-reach places, so we'll see Ace more than likely coming for that if they do want to break up anything along those lines. Valkyrie's going to get removed initially for the defense, just that info game being so unbelievably potent, and Mira going to follow suit as well. So two of the operators that we saw quite a bit on Banker will both be removed, but that's going to open up a lot of different avenues. The big one right now, standing tall, has got to be Kaid. Thatcher, being obviously out of play, makes Kaid so very strong when he makes it through the ban pool, so more than likely a big abusing moment here for DZ.
That brought in more than likely for sure, but keep in mind Maverick also going to be available for our attackers to circumnavigate quite a bit of what Kaid will usually bring to the table, especially when it comes to play. Specifically on those balcony walls, hatches might be a little bit better to work out here for him, and we're going to see that come into play for NJR immediately, as to no surprise, we're going to see DarkZero immediately go towards a basement hold for the first round here.
Ooh, very interesting from Eclipse as well, so he'll take the alibi away and just into the Smoke instead. And as we all know, Smoke's such a very solid operator in any defensive setup. One of the most played ops of all time on the defensive side. Same with Jaeger, who will also be showing up to the table here for Hyper. Canadian will be back on the Echo that we saw him previously use on Bank, but obviously this one's going to be downstairs here, Church Arsenal. So he'll be more than likely be playing safe and trying to get either some intel or just plant denial. We'll have to exactly see what he wants to go along with this. But as for the Soniqs, this is actually going to be a fairly straightforward offense for them with 3 hard breachers being in play. It's going to be about working these hatches, and not only that, but also working the kitchen hallway with Kansan. We're going to be seeing a lot of value out of that skeleton key here on this site.
Round begins and the Soniqs will spawn for the first time here. They're going to go on the attack here and look to clear this out. Will be fairly heavily focused for DarkZero, as you've already mentioned. They're in the basement hold here with all 5 players continuing to maintain that position and playing it out here for the large majority of the round. Some slight exceptions that will be found with Panba lurking up the main stairs, looking to maybe get an early contestation against someone like Kansan entering through kitchen or that main hall. Could possibly see something similar with Hyper over towards the blue hall as well if he wants to get adventurous, but it's looking like for the most part he's going to keep things nice and reserved, held back further down that staircase and in the actual container unit down below in the big blue square.
Soniqs already clearing out the mid-floor of Clubhouse. The Yana hologram making its way down main stairs. It'll be droning Rexon as well, but Rexon won't be pushing too far. We'll just be setting up the drone for Secret to make sure no DZ members make it on out, and then it'll be on to the hatch play here for these lads. I want to make sure they can get all of these open. They'll have to try and circumnavigate these electro claws, but it's going to be very easy given that they have Yeti. The only complicated one, more than likely going to be the one inside of kitchen, but doesn't even look like that's been electrified. We'll have to see later if NJR still has his primary utility in his pocket or if he's got that lined up somewhere else. We'll just have to see. But this has been fairly straightforward for the Soniqs. It's exactly how you're expecting Clubhouse to go. They've pressured everyone down low. DZ simply waiting with open arms to see what the next move will be as they continue to try and build up their utility and stand in the way of Soniqs actually making their way into sight.
1 minute already gone from the round, and in fact half of the round already gone here for the Soniqs as they try to spend most of the opening minute and a half here opening up all those top-down angles, specifically inside of kitchen and a few other areas on the map as well, so that they can explore every possibility and knock out, more importantly, every piece of utility they possibly can before adventuring forward here. You can see most notably, again, those K-Close being dealt with quite easily and now allowing for the hatch to be opened up inside of kitchen to let them go for the drop that they most certainly would want to go for here. The Autoclone, the Gemini, going to be the first to actually go down to see what the Arsenal setup is actually looking like as Panba gets spotted out there behind the first gun vault and then goes up to the containers instead as a Toxic Babe is deployed to stop any sort of follow-up from coming in from the Soniqs.
And you can already see what is getting done with the skeleton key from Kansan. Look at the amount of work that they've done inside of this kitchen hallway. This is all going to lean into Armory and make things so very difficult to play deeper inside of this space. Pambazu with a very interesting spot, but Rexon will be able to get one. Hyper trades it out, but now Armory's good to go for Soniqs. More than likely should be hailing themselves into this momentarily, but they have to worry about two separate spots. Not only Dummies box for Hyper, but also Canadian inside of Dirt. That's always one that you want to be aware of when it comes to this positioning. Grish will be able to clean up Eclipse with that frag grenade, and we could see some more raining in soon as Yeti gets into position. Super already going to start off the plant. They know that one's crossing. That comm should come through pretty cleanly as Grixer will start combating back. Won't be able to get the plant down, but they've gotten the two people that stood in their way initially. It's all up to NJR. Got the Sonic skin, but definitely not supporting them as they're trying to rip this away, but he can't hit his shots. NJR's going to want that one back as Sonics more than likely take the round.
NJR with an opportunity to shut it down, but just barely missing it by the skin of his own teeth here. Now NJR trying to make the play happen in the 1vx, but it's just not going to go his way. The frags instead go towards the Sonics, and with a great audible moving away from the kitchen hatch drop that they've been focusing on for so long in that round, and instead shifting it over towards a Moto and main stairs play. They get the routes they need to work their way in and ultimately burn out the DarkZero defense to pick up the first round on the attack.
Sonics just keep the playbook so open there, John. That was the beauty of that. They started playing the pressure through the utility as well as that plant going down with Super initially, but the rest of the bodies for the Sonics are still upstairs in positions of power. That's the biggest thing there, right? So they can drop into blue, they can abuse the secret stairwell, and really all they needed initially was that pull away from Armory in order to get the ball rolling. And that's exactly what Rexon's plan was initially inside of that one, and that makes it to where all of DarkZero has to try and crunch and deal with that situation that Super presents. But in that, they also give up map control on the back end of the site, which opens it up for the Sonics. They walk in with open arms, clean up literally everyone in through secret where they initially died, and they get away with it. So beautifully done there from the Sonics to know how DarkZero are going to react to that situation and just think one step ahead.
And again, the patience that comes out of that is very impressive from the Sonics, with all the discipline that Super is bringing to the rest of his team and has built up over this last 9 months or so of play. Is really something to be respected here. I forget if it was Rexon or Kansan that was pushing in from blue toward the end of the round, but that player had a clear-cut duel versus Canadian. Never pushed it though, never overextended.
It was Grixer, I believe, because he got the 2K.
What's up?
I think it was Grixer because he got the 2K.
Okay, Grixer. So yeah, either way, had that nice pinch going on there and didn't overplay at any point, didn't try to force the duel, which could have potentially led to his own death, because if he goes down, that allows Canadian to run out, and they're going to lose a huge amount of map control at that point. So they choose to play the safe route, despite the time being low, and ultimately it leads to a very, very clean hold for the Sonics and a pretty much unwinnable situation for that last player alive with DarkZero.
Yeah, Sonics, very calculated in the way that they do things, very strategic as well as just following through. Time and time again, the entire squad. I mean, we've seen their Clubhouse a decent bit this year, and we've seen it twice in the last 2 days as well, and almost every single time things go off without a hitch. They're using their utility perfectly. There's a lot of synergy. I mean, it's just a beautiful siege to watch. For DarkZero right now, the initial basement won't work, but we've seen them clamber out of this before. Well, just a couple moments ago on Bank when this started out as a 3-0 deficit to the Sonics offense.
The Sonics now well ahead here with the 1-0 lead built up here. An opportunity to try and push it to 2-0 as well. But the DarkZero roster obviously favoring a different site choice for themselves this time. They will go upstairs instead to hold inside of CCTV and Cash, where we can already see the Sonics quickly trying to work things out and open up this balcony wall for themselves here. No issues in terms of doing that. They've got the Maverick after all, and we already talked about how those Electroclaws wouldn't be much against the Maverick here. So it's opened up very quickly. Option number 1 is there for the Sonics to execute into the site, but they need to build up to 2 to 3 others here before they'll more than likely have the confidence necessary to go for an outright execute. Yeti in the meanwhile though, while having his job done, will be free to drone out the inside of the site and see what the setup back toward the top of the red stairs as well as our green room there. Cash itself is going to look like to hopefully give some greater intel and clarity to the players pushing into construction. It won't be enough though as Canadian gets a beautiful flick off onto Grixer to shut him down and give DarkZero the opening kill of the round.
I mean, Canadian might have actually entered retirement and just recently came out, but he is still hitting this shots to this day rather. All the way back in year 1, still playing the game. We're all the way in year 6, about to close it out actually. We are sitting in December as of right now, but 50 seconds on the clock, and Soniqs still with a lot to do. They'll be able to get the right-hand wall open here as they're looking for a better plant spot, but they really haven't given up, or rather cleared out DarkZero's positioning, especially here inside of Garage, where Eclipse can play spoils to a lot of this situation. Soniqs, though, still with plenty of time to be able to achieve a lot of this, and with some serious damage done to Canadian, this really is anybody's route.
And JR continuing to wait for the next challenge to potentially come his way, either through the construction window or the breach that has been made inside the balcony wall itself. Either way, Soniqs are out of time with 15 seconds remaining. They need to push the envelope here, whether it's in Garage or in through the breach. Eclipse is watching both angles, though, and so is Panba, as he gets the triple at the end of it. Not even close this time for the Soniqs, as DarkZero pick up a truly flawless round and shut down every facet of the Soniqs push.
I'm praising Soniqs all day for their info game, but it just seemed like they had to operate with 0 inside of that situation. No idea that Eclipse is inside of rafters, and really no idea as to the positioning of where DZ is inside of the true site. So trying to just work their way in through the CCTV breach, but obviously that does not work out as they all get gunned down for the flawless round, the very first round that DarkZero will achieve here on Clubhouse. Into round 3 now, though, as we're quickly getting into the next one. It's going to be a 6 picks from Grixer. The Ying going to go out of play, Yana coming back in, so more frag grenades to the party to partner up with Mavericks, as we will still stick to that triple hard breach that the Soniqs have been running for most of their Clubhouse rounds in the last 2 days.
Gym and bedroom is up on the docket next here for DZ as they continue to wrap around, not feeling the repeat on that basement hold just yet, as Soniqs, to be fair, had a fairly solid attacking strategy as well as an audible called mid-round there, as they really seem ready to take on any challenge on that site. DarkZero won't be willing to go back to that until they are truly going to be forced to, probably on the next round if things come out well for them here on the gym hold. With that said, this is going to be a much different defense overall here, as it's once again, just like our other upstairs site, fairly claustrophobic, everybody having to hold in some fairly small rooms and with not a whole lot of cover to play off of. So the best way to make up for that difference is to extend outwards, and that's exactly what DZ are going to do, extending additional coverage over here inside of Cache as well as construction to allow for them to waste additional time earlier on in the round before being forced to fall back to the site.
And in a perfect world, they'll more than likely be able to work their way back towards that construction space and get a couple of picks in the process, or at least waste a decent amount of the Soniqs' time if they do want to come over here and try and tussle with the cache setup. Now, there is one caveat to that, which is what Oxygen did yesterday, which was really thin the herd of the Soniqs. They actually got forced into more of a pinching scenario on this top floor where everyone got really congested around that construction space, and Oxygen was able to capitalize on that with quite a few frags and simply just walk over the Soniqs on a defensive round like this. So we'll see what SQ want to do in this situation, as Kansan will start things off over here on the construction side, or rather the plat side, but Pambazoo here to try and at least get in his way. Kansan will immediately drop off as he's created some space for the hologram to go in, and Pambazoo seemingly aware of that, so he'll be able to at least get rid of it, but that's going to be a decent amount of intel going to the Soniqs.
And the Gemini spotting one, if not both, of the players holding out here by Red and Cache, so a lot of info, as you were mentioning, being bled over towards the Soniqs. For the most part, looking like they're going to ignore that setup for the time being and prioritize the play in from Jim instead. With a little over half the round remaining, they'll have plenty of time to set up towards that. Additional pressure will be boiling in through the Haji hatch more than likely as well to add an additional pinch to this play, as Canadian and at least one other member of DarkZero are going to sit here to try and defend this. Canadian even getting a little bit aggressive with the swings here. He knows he's going to drone up top in that corner. I think he's heard it move once or twice, but he can't find the angle to shoot it. And there you go. Correct myself, as finally it over peaks and he can shoot it.
Well, it's just as you said, you know, you don't need to try and mess with the cache setup if you're able to get control of logistics. You have the complete cutoff inside of construction, and they're going to have to try and either go downstairs or just straight up gunfight you, and either way, it's a risk for the defense. Canadian, speaking of risks, he's taken a pretty serious one and looking to see if anybody will be out here on this vent. It's a very common spot for people to be holding that angle. That way you can see in towards that red space right next to logistics, but nobody home for that nitro cell, so that one will go wide as we're down to our last minute.
I think it's soar a little bit further. Actually might have yielded results against Yeti, currently holding the corner a little bit further outside there as time continues to trickle down here. And the Soniqs running out of it, running out of options to get themselves into the site and even to get their first kill going. Much like the last upstairs hold here, Soniqs just can't find any sort of advantage here, any sort of initiation right to get into this site with. And ultimately, Grixer's going to try to peek the Logi hatch against two very well-prepared members of DarkZero, and Canadian will shut that down. Loses a lot of HP in the process, but you're seeing no counteraction coming in from Soniqs to make up for this. They're going to swing in through main stairs. Super and Yeti going to try to pinch this angle together, and actually no, Super's going to swing out towards the gym instead. NJR very much prepared for that. Up on top of the bed stop now. But the 18 seconds remaining here. The remaining players are going to try to put pressure in wherever they really can, but much like the last round, it's unfortunately not going to lead to a whole lot, and more than likely, this is just going to be a shutdown from DarkZero again.
Been very well done here. It's going to be yet another flawless back-to-back rounds. The Soniqs can't even be gifted a kill. No one making an aggressive play on DZ that ends up with a Soniqs frag, and well, could be seeing a timeout soon, but it doesn't seem like they want to use it just yet. It's only a one-round deficit and some adjustments that Super can more than likely make himself. We could be seeing one come in here, but it doesn't really look like we're going to be getting too much. Yeti initially flashed a gridlock. You guys didn't see that on your screen, but could definitely, more than likely, actually, keeping that Maverick simply just given the circumstances of what our bans were. If he ends up 6-picking that, I would definitely be surprised. It's actually going to be Grixer instead. Starts off with the Jackal, moves it back to the Yana, as we're going to be getting the exact same lineup as we've been getting time and time again, just constantly trying to abuse that 6-pick as much as possible.
Oh, with Soniqs being somewhat of a non-starter in the two upstairs sites, they're going to be certainly relieved that we are going back to the basement here now, mainly because DarkZero don't have a choice. You guys that are watching from other regions might be a little bit surprised. It's like, okay, why don't they try the bar hold? Well, in North America, it really is not in the meta still. So, yeah, it's not going to be something that we'll see played into very often. I think in the NAL overall, it's been picked like maybe 2 to 3 times this whole year.
Twice for
yeah,
this whole year.
And that's actually quite a bit compared to what it used to be. So even that's an improvement. But yeah, for the most part, NA just does not play into the bar sites. They're always going to rely on the other 3.
Please don't troll my ranked games with that site. I'm asking, please, please. You know, it's just a site that's very difficult to get to go with your squad. But obviously, when there's very solid coordination, like there should be in competitive Rainbow Six Siege, then it's going to be a little bit easier for you and your team to be able to achieve victory inside of that space. But either way, round 4 starts now. So we're about 10 seconds in already. Major changes on either side. This time around, though, and we'll say Canadian will be bringing the Goyo instead of the Echo. And honestly, I really, really like this, just given not only the 2 solid defensive standpoints that Canadian can make with those Goyo shields, but the Vector in general just rips. And having a Nitro Cell on this site as well is just always a gift. There's a lot of different things you can get done with it, not only denying the plant, but also just battling back against that verticality that Kansan will be ensuing in a moment's notice.
The Selmas get deployed onto the hatch going down towards blue, putting that additional pressure onto, of course, Hyper and eventually Canadian Pamba as well, should we continue to see Soniqs emphasize pressure in from this part of the map. Not going to be the only step that Soniqs need to work on, though. Still need to get access to the kitchen hatch, and a heck of a lot more. And Kansan will be contributing quite a bit to making sure that that happens. As you can see, already using that skeleton key to open up quite a few of the angles here down the main hallway, and will soon be doing the same on the inside of that kitchen floor as he'll go towards now. Yeti similarly will work on opening up the Moto hatch. It's just checking the boxes at this point here, folks, as we kind of wait down the timer for the Soniqs to be more ready to assault the basement. DarkZero are not bringing out any aggression from the staircases here, so it's going to be a little monotonous here as they build up towards that in the next 30 to 40 seconds.
Yeah, I'm convinced that Yeti and Kansan are the only 2 Soniqs members that went to trade school, because we got a carpenter and a welder here. But we're going to have to keep track, John, see what they can do. You know, Kansan might be making my new furniture. You never know. But either way, DarkZero will be waiting downstairs yet again, just like we saw in the previous defensive round down low. And Pambazoo going to be playing in a very similar position as well. DarkZero more than likely very aware of what will be going around the blue area, but it's actually Canadian to die first. And that's those angles around this space. It's a beauty of what the skeleton key can achieve. This isn't something that you can get done in a regular fashion without range soft breach. So with that being said, it's going to be an angle found over the reinforced wall. You guys can see it right there as he tried to reinforce that and give him some extra room to breathe around that main space. That way, like Yeti and people like that can't try and make their way up that long hallway, but it's all for naught. So now Canadian down, Pambazoo basically the last man standing here inside of the Armory Lockers space, but that doesn't mean that DZ can't battle back through other angles.
An opening kill being found, and that's what the static buildup for the Soniqs is all about here, trying to isolate out those 1 or 2 players to make the rest of the execute more palatable. They haven't been able to translate additional ones as of yet, though, and once more, nice catch by Yeti here. Saves his teammate's life, but there's still a swing from Panba out from his position to pick up the kill anyway. Yeti now sneaks into the site, nearly catches one. He's going to dart past this Toxic Babe to get to the safe corner, but he's quickly losing teammates, so he has to defend himself fairly soon. Kansan trying to do that job for him here, and Grixer looking to do the same from up on top. They'll swing for it, but the plant is now down on the ground as NJR and Eclipse both pick up kills. Grixer is the only one remaining upstairs, and while he gets one exchange, he has a lot more to find. His 2 additional players still need to be hunted from downstairs. He'll try to take the path of least defense here, looking again for a rotate to come back up through the stairs itself. He's right to look for that, but he also needs to deny the counter defuse. Finds that angle. He knows he's got a player on top of him. Just needs to wait this one out. He doesn't even really need to take the fight anymore, but he's going to go for it anyway. Grixer out of ammo. He's got the RX after all here, but he's dodging around this Cade, and he eventually takes the fight as Grixer clutches it out for the Soniqs.
Grixer, very well done. Such a difficult situation to try and work through, constantly being pressured from both ends, but seemingly not a chance in the world for DarkZero to try and get away with that one. Everyone on the Soniqs dying to get that case down, all for Grixer to have a moment to pop off, and he does indeed, able to pick up quite a few frags through that hatch and battle back against DZ after 2 flawless rounds.
Beautiful stuff coming in from him, but again, here's the issue for the Soniqs. This is the only area where they've had success so far, or more importantly, the only site where they've had success. We need to see them translate this into the 2 upstairs sites as well, and if they can't do that, we're looking at a very easy 4-2 lead coming up over the next 2 rounds for DarkZero. So these are the rounds we care about here. These are the ones where we need to see evolution come out in Soniqs' attacking playstyle. Otherwise, it's just going to be DarkZero shutting them down again.
Yeah, it's the prominence in the angles for the Soniqs on that downstairs site and the way that they're abusing cans in there. I mean, they're just getting so many angles open to where you really don't have any space to operate down low without getting tagged up or just outright killed. I mean, that's what's happened to Canadian time and time again. The previous round was just a nice pull there from the Soniqs as they pull all of DarkZero towards, you know, the Armory Locker's space. That time around, it was just very solid angles being worked around Kitchen, as well as Yeti kind of making a free ball play down the main stairs. They had to get somebody in somehow, and he pushes in through the ash wall after Super just simply tries to entry in and get some info for him, and it works out really, really well. Unfortunate for Yeti that he doesn't get the kill onto Canadian, or rather the player inside of Dirt, but either way, still able to get that round on the SQ table, and that's what matters at the end of the day. But that leads over into these other rounds as well, where we're going to want to see Soniqs be a little bit more abusive in the way that they use their utility.
As we get started with our 5th round of the half here, and the 2nd run of the upstairs holds from DZ. Things are going to go pretty predictably here once again for the first minute or so of action as Yeti goes immediately to take care of the balcony. While he's got the Maverick, you'll notice, of course, the defenders not going to be wasting either of the electric claws on it this time because it's a bit of a moot point, ultimately, with Maverick in play. Yeti will be able to carve his way through those at some point over the next 10 seconds or so, and then we'll be free to move on as the rest of the team opens up other options, whether it's through hatch play or potentially opening up the other balcony over by Jacuzzi to allow a push to come in through construction. That's another area where Soniqs did try to take on the last attempt here, but were ultimately fended off due to the nice swing from Canadian that I believe caught Grixer and kind of made the Soniqs not too confident to try pushing that area again at any point during that round.
I've seen quite a few of these rounds on this top floor for the Soniqs open up with this, and then usually either, as you said, going towards Jacuzzi or popping that single panel for construction just to apply pressure to the back end there and make things a little bit more difficult for DZ to really get done what they're attempting to. Speaking of which, Canadian will be back in the position that we saw him the last time here for construction, more than likely shield in tow as well. So Soniqs know about this space and what exactly can go on here. Also, that Malusi more than likely going to be a little bit of a nuisance overall, just with those Banshees laying around and making it difficult for the Soniqs to actually get their entry in the way that they would originally want to. We're about halfway through the round right now as the Soniqs haven't gotten too much done yet again here. More than likely going to be focused onto this garage position as Eclipse stood very tall inside of the previous round here on CCTV.
And an Eclipse, once again, ready for the challenge to come in here as the Soniqs, similarly to the previous attempts, have gone the first 2 minutes without much contest against them. You can even see Canadian starting to flirt with a potential peek out through that window, potentially catch anyone from the Soniqs that might be trying to peek in through CCTV itself. 50 seconds now remaining on the clock, and it's that similar static positioning from the Soniqs here as they still try to work their way forward and get some positioning onto the site. It's important to know, I don't actually know if the balcony was fully opened up yet either, but either way, first kill finally going to be found here as Panba moves in, catches Yeti outright, the Twitch drone trying to fire in and take care of some of this utility, and finally, there we go. Now an opening going to be made of the balcony with just 30 seconds remaining here, and the Soniqs now have to use that time to try to push themselves forward. May not even really be able to work themselves forward and get access to the balcony breach at any point here, because there's still one Toxic Bait remaining. A nice insertion from Rexon, though, and an absolute ace kill against Eclipse. Some good damage going on to Canadian, They're not able to transition it forward at that point and to fully outright kill him. Grixer finds similar success, though, moving up the red stairs, and this may work out after all, after everything is said and done for the Soniqs roster here. Canadian trying to flank around towards Grixer, but he won't be caught, and Super even gets another one, able to put the case down on the ground, and Grixer has his cutoff. However, Canadian looking in from down below, they're going to try to deny onto him, but it won't work out. Grixer, the hero again, as he pushes down the red stairs and stops the counter defuse.
Oh, that was terrifying from both ends right there. So DarkZero, or rather Soniqs, do end up getting that wall open initially with the Mavbuck combo, but then they blow that second wall because of the plant positioning that Super wanted. He wanted to plant right up next to that wall. There's actually just enough room there on the bricks to where the person that plays inside of the cache stairwell actually can't see you, especially when it's smoked off. It makes it super difficult because, as we all know, if you challenge smokes, the person on the other side of the smoke more than likely has the advantage when you walk through, so no one going to challenge that outright. But it took a lot more than that in order to make that round go off for the Soniqs. It was Grixer all day, every day that made that round go off. Not only does he pressure the cache stairs to get the frag there and make it to where Super even has the chance to do that, but he also gets the 2 kills that prevent Super from dying at 0-0 and would have gifted DarkZero the round.
Grixer, the hero of the red stairs there, pushes the Soniqs ahead, guarantees...
Superman right under his chest, just rip the jersey off.
Quite literally a hero in that situation, as he guarantees a tied scoreline at halftime minimum, if not a 4-2 lead here as they go forward, in addition to an absolutely brutal scoreline here at this point of 9-2. They triple the next highest teammate right now, who's Rexen at 3-4.
Round 6 hasn't even started yet, John. That's 5 rounds that he's done that in, 9-2-0. Very, very impressive stuff, and honestly, it makes me really happy for what we've seen over these last 2 days with Twitch starting to get used a lot more once again. Back in the day, we all know this, she got crutched a decent bit for the F2 just because of the high fire rate of the gun and kind of the recoil pattern at that moment, but now I feel like she's in such a solid space. She's got the smoke secondaries as well as the F2 for the primary, and her Twitch drones are just perfect in the moment. So it's been pretty sick to be able to see her get some use and just some play again inside a professional Siege. So Grixer obviously is pretty happy with that, and I'm sure a lot of entry fraggers and people across the globe are excited to have that F2 back in their hands.
So the Soniqs leading once again here. They're going to look to do the same, and they succeed in it.
Oh my God.
Panba's going to get caught by Kansan as he goes hyper-aggressive at the beginning of this round, breaching right in through the balcony wall and catching Panba when he has no idea the pressure was even there. A free start given to the Soniqs here as they are already leading this round in a 5v4 position.
Soniqs fighting so valiantly for this 4-2 split. We saw it yesterday up against Oxygen, where they were able to do very similar things on this map, able to achieve that scoreline. Well, now for them, they'll be working this side yet again here, as we are going back to Gym Bedroom for DZ, but none of those rounds had started in this way. It was always Soniqs trying to get something done on the tail end of the round, where DZ were just ready for it, just really never processing through any of the utility or the setup for DarkZero, and just trying to get it done with very minimal control that never truthfully worked out. But now for DarkZero, presented an opportunity and an oversight from Hyper. He's looking downstairs but doesn't know where anyone's coming from at the moment, and Yeti chooses a prime opportunity to get that swing.
Eclipse is going to look to counter this back out, but Eclipse biting off a little bit more than he can chew as Rexen comes in for the assist. It's not even the player that he was looking at. Yeti even catches the flank. Canadian, however, will succeed in getting a bit aggressive on his own, but he too now flanked out by Grixer. It's a 4-2 lead for the Soniqs as they rebound beautifully on the second run of upstairs hold, winning both of them and solidifying a beautiful attacking half for themselves.
The one thing that I have noticed so much about the Soniqs play across these last 2 days is how they always have that ace up their sleeve. There's always someone waiting for something to happen to the opposing squad, and then they make their action. They hop into logistics, they push in the back end while DarkZero is trying to pressure out into their actual defensive site. There's so many things here that the Soniqs are doing that are just very little, but it's the things that are required to beat a team like DarkZero. This has been so very well done thus far, as we'll be switching sides. DarkZero will be faced with not only a 2-score lead by the Soniqs, this quite the deficit, but also the offensive side of Clubhouse, which can be for better or for worse.
Just the first bit of this half needing to be won now by the Soniqs. 3 rounds out of 6 remaining separates them from being the NAL 2021 outright champions. Once again, no one expected this to happen given the way this year started out for them, but they are absolutely giving us a show right now, especially Grix already in double-digit kills with just 6 rounds having been played out.
If we would have talked in February and I would have told any of you at home, hey, what the finals for the NAL this year is going to be, I have the script in my hand, you know. It's going to be Canadian with DarkZero up against Soniqs
after retiring
with Super. And not only that, but Super is actually going to make mincemeat out of Oxygen, out of all people. That's what's going to happen inside of our finals. You guys would all call me crazy, be like, Stokes doesn't deserve a job, get somebody else in here. But no, that's what we've got. We've got DarkZero and the Soniqs in the finals of the NAL. And not only that, but the Soniqs looking very convincing in the way that they've been handling their siege.
With just a few more rounds left to win, it's time to see if they can do it on the defensive side. Once again, that aggression could come out in different forms here as well. We can already see Super lurking over towards the dirt tunnel there. Unsure if that was to try and check for a potential aggressive play, or once again, just checking for potential enemy info himself. But either way, it's going to be very close to the chest here for the Soniqs, which is similar to the way we saw DarkZero playing it out. Pretty much everybody sticking themselves down here to wait out the time, wait out the clear from DarkZero, and allow them to work their way and allow, obviously, the Sonic setup do most of the talking when it comes time to fight later on in this round.
Well, a couple of similarities, but also a couple of differences for DZ's lineup in comparison to what Soniqs are bringing for the offense. We have Buck in play. I don't know how that skeleton key will work out for the kitchen hall, but also Canadian bringing the Rotero drones to try and deal with some of these hard-to-reach spaces, and getting rid of a lot of important utility. Most notably, what he's looking for is those evil eyes. If you can get rid of those, that's most of the info off the board, especially deep inside of Armory, and should make it very straightforward for DZ trying to work that space. All you have to do past that is worry about those boxes or towards the back end of Armory, as well as Dirt Tunnel. Those are the 2 key moments that can change up a lot going for one of those Armory plants. Obviously, there's a couple of other spaces that can be abused, but we're so used to the offense here, especially nowadays, properly operating around that Moto space, holding the bottom stairs or what have you, just to make it towards a pretty hard rotation for the defense. But DarkZero starting to get dwindled on this timer now, as we're almost to the minute.
Zero here, once again, struggling to work their way in, but certainly expected at this degree here. The big areas where they're still going to have to try and find some way to push forward is going to be on either this kitchen hatchwork or looking for an alternate path, whether that's going to be pinching from Blue and Moto or something else. Looking likely to be that first option, though, as we're going to see the Rotero drones start to sneak in here, dealing with one of the cameras.
Oh, it didn't get it. It's a bulletproof. It's up on the top wall. You can hop on top of that jukebox right there.
So it's not going to be able to take that down. The info leak will still be happening here for the Soniqs as they try to push their way back in. More drones are going to move in and probably reconfirm that that didn't get taken out in a second. And if there is one remaining, trying to double check right now, and yes, there is still Rotero drones remaining, we are going to see more of those get thrown in here. Away from that too. Plenty of drones still for DarkZero to utilize as we come down to 30 seconds, but the time is what's really going to matter here. There is only that 30 seconds remaining here. They've made very little progress on this push. Patience will be a virtue here for Hyper, though, as he's able to down Rexon and now absolutely assault the inside of Church, but Yeti gets the clapback pretty much instantaneously. Still has the defense coming in here as the Nitros now begin to do their work, finding a second kill for the team. Kansan will get the third after Canadian gets only a single exchange here, and there you have it. Yeti with one final pickup. It's the Soniqs finding another round as they pick up their first defensive win here at the outset of the second half.
2 rounds separate Soniqs from closing this out inside of Regulation, and not only that, they look cool as a cucumber, John. There is no faces, there's nothing. They're just having fun, man. I mean, this is the chillest I've ever seen Xander, and I've played rank with the guy. I mean, like, you know, it's very, very impressive stuff coming across the board from the Soniqs as they're just simply walking on through DarkZero. Really love the positioning of Yeti on that one, specifically on the midi bar there for Church. I mean, just looking over the top of the freezer, that's so unbelievably difficult for Hyper to try and fight. It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier with just angles and the way that your camera works in this game. When he's got that verticality, he's looking down through that hole, he gets to see the entire lower half of you, and you don't get to see any of him. All you get to see is those bullet tracers. That's what you saw Hyper try to fire back at, but Hyper doesn't know that there's a massive fridge there that is catching all of his bullets.
That great angle work being used by the Soniqs to once again shut down the play from DarkZero, which did have some spark of hope to it at the beginning there, specifically with the play towards Blue. That was the catalyst for the rest of the execute, but unfortunately it all led to nothing as Yeti and other members of the Soniqs were ready for the challenge and fended it off without too much of an issue. As Stokes said, 2 more rounds. 1 more run around of these sites is all that the Soniqs need here to close out the game, close out the series, and close out the year for the NAL.
Yeah, scary times right now for DZ. They've came so far from barely scraping by to get into the Sweden Major to now being here, the NAL Finals. Trying to take a victory for the DarkZero house, make that trophy room look just a little bit better. But we'll have to see what they can get done at a 3-round deficit. Soniqs sitting at the door for victory here for the second season of the NAL. To hold things down now inside of Gym and Master Bedroom, a site that we saw them get quite a bit of success with yesterday up against Oxygen.
Keep in mind, folks, once again, this is not our only matchup for today. Following this one, we have the relegation match between Parabellum and XSET. That'll determine the 9th final team in the NAL for the 2022 season. Will XSET be able to maintain their position after getting last place this season, or will Parabellum, who's been excelling their way through CL, be able to steal that spot from them and enter the NAL as a new squad?
I don't know about you guys, but I am most definitely excited for that one. Anytime that I can get my eyes on some Parabellum gameplay, I am in. Ever since SI, I think everybody has been feeling that exact same vibe. So we'll have to see what they can possibly get done later. But as of right now, the Soniqs start having to battle back. DZ make their first move. They'll blow open the single panel. They also got some positioning over towards the jacuzzi balcony, as to be expected. About halfway through this round now is DarkZero are just simply taking their time. They've got the jacuzzi open already. They're going to start droning in and seeing where the positionings are of these Soniqs members, but they haven't done a single thing for this cache side, so there's still plenty of abusable things here for SQ as well, especially if DZ try to go for that weights plant and they want to lean out towards the subroof.
Over half the round going. It's a very slow build-up again here from DZ, but that's somewhat to be expected, as that has been the go-to playstyle for kind of both of our teams, trying to take this so carefully because there's so much kind of looming aggression building up, especially on the defensive side here. They want to make sure that they measure twice, cut once, but unfortunately the cut's going to miss this time. Yeti excelling once again with the initial kill. However, caught on the exchange by Panba. Frag grenade is going to be wasted, though, as he's trying to chuck one in the kitchen, and the ADSs eat that up.
That's all of the frag grenades gone for DarkZero. They can't get that wall open. This is going to be very difficult for them now. What's the next move? How do they try and fix this? That's the big question, and that's what's scratching Canadian's brain right now. Pambazoo's trying to step up inside of this space and get something done here. He'll try and bang out the mattress, but nobody on the other end as of right now. Kansan's playing safely inside of construction, but Canadian will make the move. Oh no, not like this, Soniqs. Just simply walking in. Apparently the adjustments from DZ earlier opening up so many different avenues of play. It's paid off, and it's actually going to get them the round. They didn't even need the bathroom. They just simply needed the Soniqs to get pulled apart.
Molly up at the cutoff coming in from the windows there as well, enough to give them the angles they need to work their way in. Great stuff from DarkZero. A rough hand dealt to them there in the mid-round, as Stokes was mentioning. No capability to open up kitchen and get the true swing they wanted to pinch off against the bedroom hold and allow for them to go into gym more freely. Instead, they push it in through construction and brute force the gym play, and it works out as they frag their way to a victory, continuing to hold on here in the grand finals, even with the Soniqs holding a solid lead.
Perfectly timed from Canadian there as well. Pambazoo pressuring in from jacuzzi, start getting your balcony players into the action as well, and he just simply drops on the single panel. And that's something that you see happen very often inside of Rainbow Six, and something that you guys can apply to your gameplay as well for your hard breachers, is getting some of those walls open just at the very beginning of the round and leaving them there. That's some of the best plays that you can possibly make in Siege, because what that does to the defense is it makes it to where they're used to that being there. And just think about it this way, if I haven't used it for 2 minutes and 30 seconds, you're probably pretty used to that being there. And I can more than likely walk in, and you're probably going to be surprised at that. That's exactly what Canadian does in that situation. Very well done from DarkZero to open themselves up so many different avenues to try and attack gym and bedroom, and they're able to stave off Soniqs from getting up to match point.
The Soniqs, though, still in control of the matchup at 5-3 and a 1-0 lead overall on maps here. But DarkZero giving us a great showing just now there on their initial attack. Goes successfully for them. And the Soniqs, however, are now able to return up here into the tellers, or rather the CCTV and cache hold for themselves to see if they can find better success here on their third attempt now to pick up a round on the defense. So far, 1-1, a dead heat between these teams in our second half, but that only favors the Soniqs if the teams continue to volley back and forth, as we saw between Soniqs and OXG for a bit during their matches yesterday. Either way, though, we've got Eclipse on the Maverick, going to quickly take care of all the reinforcements over here on the balcony, sitting outside of East Main, but Eclipse still going to take a few seconds to do that, and Hyper, of course, will be on the rappel to pop open the soft breach once he finishes the job, opening up and checking off step 1 here for the DZ attack.
Okay, we'll plenty of utility to play into a prevention here. Yet he won't have the Nitro Cell, he'll have the BP instead, so some extra information to be able to assist them. More than likely over towards this west-hand side of the map. Can obviously be really anywhere. Obviously down the stairs inside of Lounge is a very important space to try and occupy, or at least have some information game going on as well. But so far it's been easy breezy for both of these teams. Not too much action going on around the map, just a lot of posturing going on. The initial CCTV wall will be blown, as we would all expect. Canadian trying to get some Rotero drones in here and see exactly what pieces of utility he can get rid of. No one really seemingly aware of what's going on, and that's that bulletproof there that we were looking for. It's actually inside of CCTV watching the breach, so all of a sudden it'll be radio silence in that area. No one taking any damage or anything across this first minute and a half, but it does seem like DZ want to start working from this jacuzzi side.
Meantime, the Soniqs are very much ready to fend off things from the construction end.
Oh.
As Kansan is going to be able to launch a Nitro Cell out and get the first kill of this round against Hyper, eliminating the Zofia from play, taking away what can oftentimes be that pretty pivotal entry operator to help things out here for DZ. Not going to be the case this time, obviously, as it's now been eliminated, and DZ need to look for other options here as they back away from the construction push.
This is very terrifying right now for DZ because Soniqs seemingly aware of all of this. We saw a lot of them playing over towards this construction space, so more than likely ready for DarkZero to begin trying to get inside of the actual cache space and get a plant down here. These Mute Jammers also working out extremely well. A Toxic Babe is going to force Yeti away from the wall here, but it will also assist in keeping DarkZero out for the time being. Grixer trying to worry about Plat, and he should be, as Canadian will take down one, but might not even be him outside. And actually it is. He's been playing Plat this whole time. We just weren't seemingly aware of it. The Soniqs, though, some solid positioning to play prevention, especially with Kansan. Doesn't have that Nitro Cell down low anymore, and as Bambazu's able to get two, Soniqs simply just not aware of where these entries could possibly come in from. Super, the only one on site now, might be able to get at least one, and he does, but we're going to need something like we saw yesterday in the moment right now. He can't get it done. DarkZero pinch it out, and they're going to make this scoreline one round closer.
DarkZero back into it now, as it's only going to be a one-round lead for the Soniqs as we get deeper into the second half here. Soniqs needing to find their footing and need to do so quickly, and in order to do so, they're going to call for a timeout here, recenter themselves, figure out what's going wrong in these last 20 to 30 seconds of each round. Jobro clearly having some input there as he's going to talk in, give his input now, and hopefully adjustments will be made for the Soniqs to make up for these deficits in the next round. Not to mention as well, Basement will now be unlocked for play, so they'll be going back to a site where we've already seen a confident win from them earlier on in the half.
Yeah, the mental game being played between the two IGLs right now. That's really what's happening. Canadians calling for a lot of adjustments inside of this mid-round. They're opening with the very similar things that they've been doing in the previous offensive rounds for these sites, which obviously leads the Soniqs to what they would normally do, but then they start applying themselves through different avenues around the map, just like we saw in the previous one. So some very serious mind games that the Soniqs need to consider going into these next rounds if they do want to close it out in regulation, and trust me, they do. They do not want this to go to OT and give DarkZero another chance at trying to win this. But for the Soniqs, it's going to take a little bit of just solid integrity across the board. They're really going to have to play tight-knit and be on top of things, trying to keep a bead on what DZ are doing on this offensive side, because so far, this is looking very, very solid, especially coming out of Canadian and Bambazoo.
Absolutely the case here. Obviously some rough starts to the round. The Soniqs normally getting that first pick, but that doesn't seem to matter too much for DarkZero as they call these quick audibles, adjust players into these quick positions, and once again are able to rebound as we've seen in the previous two. Canadian also going to throw us a curveball here with a 6-pick Ying will be brought into the fold, which is actually going to make this potential execute if they try to play it through hatches again very, very interesting, and maybe something similar to what we often see on the basement attacks of Oregon if it ends up going that way.
Man, I was just sitting here thinking, like, Canadians like the Peyton Manning of Siege. He just gets up to the line and he's just constantly calling audibles the whole time. And it's like, all right, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. Like, don't even really need the head coach. Just let him do his thing. He'll figure it out. They're doing fantastic as of right now, at least pulling this back once again. And that's something that we expect out of DarkZero, especially with Canadian at the helm. You want to see those adjustments. It means he's doing his job, and not only that, but he's doing it correctly. For the Soniqs, they're going to be headed back downstairs, and they found a decent amount of success inside of this space. See exactly what they can get done. They've done a very good job so far of preventing DarkZero from getting a plant down. We'll see if that continues.
I've seen over the past couple of rounds a bit of a fall off from Grixer. Obviously not chasing down like 3 to 4 kills around anymore, only finding 1, I think, since the end of the opening half or some of the opening rounds that we played out there, as he now sits at 11-4. Still a very impressive scoreline, don't get me wrong, but other players now need to step up to make up the difference as we're seeing Rexen, Kansan, and Yeti start to claim more of those kills. Panba, in the meanwhile, excelling just as much as Grixer has with a nearly identical scoreline there of 11-5 now as we get deeper and deeper into this match, and the true stars begin to show themselves as we get down to the wire.
These opening minutes are going to be quite grueling, folks. Apologies about that, but this is indeed Siege. We have a lot of different tasks in order to get done to try and apply some pressure to the Soniqs, most notably the hatches, as we've been talking about throughout most of this, and down to the torch work of Eclipse for the time being. Shouldn't be seeing too much action outside of that, as we have like a Hail Mary Nitro cell or something go off, but past that, unless DarkZero just oversteps or Soniqs makes an aggressive play up a stairwell, shouldn't be seeing too much go on. They have some intel game working in here from SQ as well. You can see they brought the bulletproof on Yeti to partner with these Evil Eyes. They'll have plenty of coverage down low, even if smokes do end up going down. But luckily enough, I do not believe that we have any of those at DarkZero's disposal.
I'm just going to quickly pop open the hatch leading down into blue here while the other ones are being worked on. All options being presented to DarkZero. Those are the easy ones, though. It's usually the kitchen hatch where there's a bit more resistance played out, and you have to use the skeleton key, currently equipped by NJR, in order to finish things off and open up the path work that you need to get that open, because you're going to see the Electric Claw at the moment, and probably for the next few seconds will DarkZero potentially try to open that. If that is indeed going to be in the cards for them, we have to wait and see. Of course, as DarkZero has been no stranger to changing things up quite suddenly here in the final 30 or 40 seconds of play, and we could be looking at that again. With the Ying in play, though, a good possibility we could start to see those Candelas get chucked through the Moto doorway in the church and allow that to be their execute route, as I believe I have seen that used previously.
And Canadian does indeed have smokes as well, so we could see that utilized in order to try and work their way in, at least cut off a couple of different angles. Yet he's going to get stunned out, but he'll be able to survive as of right now inside of church. Might be coming soon enough, though, at least the death knock, as he is, well, actually Kansan standing deeper inside of this space. You ought to be playing the bomb chassis as of right now, trying to find some cheeky angles, but a cheeky angle is what Soniqs have on top of that minibar there. DarkZero starting to run out of time, but Yeti will finally get taken down by NJR. That skeleton key finding itself yet again. The smoke's down, the Candela's out. Plenty of flashbangs to try and keep Church in control of DarkZero, and they've done it finally. But now a 3 versus 3 as Kansan's deep inside of sight. Won't be able to stop this plan, as Eclipse will more than likely confirm this. It's down to Grixer, but he's stopped the plan, and he's down the other teammate as well.
Oh, no.
The Soniqs get away with theft inside of blue. I don't even know how that's allowed to happen.
It was such a solid execute as well, specifically NJR, who has been brutal on the entry game these past couple of rounds, being assisted primarily by Canadian there. Every single kill, except for that final one, was made so cleanly, with obviously a few trades here and there coming in from the Soniqs roster, but they seem like they had full control. It's that one area they didn't put any pressure on Grixer, just casually holding Big Blue the entire time there, and when the pressure comes onto him, it's such an open plant position, he just spins around, denies it, and there you go. There's no time left.
It's, you know, Pengu and I were talking about this in between maps, and it's just one of those things about Siege. There's so many things to be thinking about in the moment that sometimes the most fundamental thing is the thing that gets you in trouble. And that's that exact moment. They have so much control around that space. They have to force this plant down there on minimal time, and there's no room for error in the slightest. And, well, that's what happens. If somebody's able to tag you down at about 3 seconds remaining and possibly down your teammate that was overlooking you trying to plant the bomb, then you're more than likely going to lose that round. Very unfortunate for DarkZero in the way that that went, because that was quite the convincing entry there for Church, and you really never want to see something go down in such a way where that's technically speaking the clutch. So for the Soniqs, though, got to be happy with that one, as they'll steal the bag and also get up to match point. They're looking to close out DarkZero in 2-0 fashion, both being inside of Regulation on Bank and Clubhouse. There's no excuses for this DZ roster.
Critical error in control ends up giving the Soniqs their penultimate round here, and now the ultimate not far away. One more is all the Soniqs need to be the 2021 NAL champions, and it's going to come at a gym defense as they try to lock this down once more. But as we already saw, DarkZero, this is one of the sites that, again, they were able to change things up as in the late round there, put that additional pressure onto the site and allow for their push to work out there, giving them this round ultimately. So once more, we need to see the Soniqs bring some more adjustments to the table as they try to pick this one up for themselves, and they already tried it back on the second, and it didn't work out too well.
What will be DarkZero's game plan for this, though? The previous round, we saw a very quick adjustment after DZ lost a handful of bodies over towards the construction side for Canadian while the pinch was coming through from Jacuzzi, and actually able to get that off without a hitch. So very well done from them, but now presented with this round, the Soniqs on the door of taking the NAL Finals away from DZ, being crowned our champion for Season 2. Either way, the Soniqs still have to go down that road, down this path here. For DarkZero, they'll be starting things off by popping open Jacuzzi. Very similar opening to what we saw the last time. We'll see what they want to do with the rest of this, though, as we've also had a pretty cheeky adjustment from the Soniqs. This time around, for the very first time on this site here today, we will see Frost. So could see some very sad moments here in a couple of minutes.
For DarkZero, looking to once again put a lot of pressure here over on the balcony side, the Jacuzzi side specifically, as they try to brute force their way in, get that pressure going. They're going to have to try and work their way and see if they can get access to the breach on the inside of the bathroom once again, though, which was a critical issue last time that forced them to ultimately rotate over towards a different part of the map, where again, they still ultimately found success by pinching things out between a brute force of the gym, as well as swinging in from construction there. So very much might have to rely on the same thing if they run into those same issues in terms of trying to deal with access getting in from the kitchen there. Very few nades remaining. They do use one that I can see. Might have one or two more, but nope, not going to be one on Kane. I don't believe there'll be one on Pamba either, so that's going to be it as they run out now and try to get themselves access instead to a different part of the map. The Selma's going down, but they're going to go down on the reinforced wall inside of Gym, as they cannot be placed once more on that bathroom wall.
DarkZero has everything that they need right now in order for a gym plant here, but it seems like the Soniqs are very well aware, especially with these breaches starting to come through. DarkZero is more than likely going to want to pressure all at once from multiple different facets, and it starts right now. Grixer's going to hop outside as he dies to a Claymore. Drone's going to get a little bit of intel inside of the site, but DarkZero hasn't stepped up to the plate just yet. Super still with some very solid intel, especially from this Evil Eye inside of Master, but DarkZero starting to deal with a lot of these different positions from the Soniqs. They know that the Maestro's in here. Super will get one. Eclipse, though, fires back onto Rex, and Super with two, as he'll finally get taken down, but Kansan, he's been no stranger to danger today, as he's into the 1v2 to clutch this up for his team and get the dub. Knows that one's playing inside of Waits, but where is NJR? He's right in front of him. The C8 works out, and DarkZero stave off elimination.
Just way more confidence in the swings coming in here over a few of these rounds for DarkZero, and I think that in a lot of these fights, it's making up the ultimate difference for them. They have the confidence. They know that someone's sitting on the other side of their angle, so they have absolutely no problem swinging out and just pre-firing it, whereas members of the Soniqs don't seem to have that guarantee at all times there. They're losing these players on very rare occasions, and those rare occasions, like I said, while rare, are ultimately leading to quite a few deaths for the Soniqs here and costing them quite a few rounds, bringing us once again to our final round of regulation to decide this map.
CCTV cache, in which we saw DarkZero can open the CCTV wall initially, but then throw it right over to a construction side take instead, with three members trying to prioritize that space, working in through Jacuzzi, and eventually catching the W there as well. But you know, there's a lot of different things that can go wrong in this area. We saw that happening yesterday against OXG for the Soniqs, where Super gets a huge triple kill that honestly should have never have happened, but still a huge win for them inside of that moment, and we could see some very similar things coming here. A big adjustment, though, as Yeto be bringing in Castle for the moment. We'll see what they want to try and get done with this. The very interesting thing about this is that everyone's going to have to use true hard-earned utility in order to get rid of these Castle barricades. There's no Sledge in play. Sledge is the direct counter to Castle barricades. You can hit 25 things with that hammer, whereas all of the utility on DarkZero's side right now is worth its weight in gold.
It's a good catch considering, again, like you said, the lack of any sort of Sledge is being brought to the table here. And with that being considered, now it is going to cost either one of the Zofia Lifeline charges, possibly one of the Rotero drones. The actually fact that we have seen him being brought to the table here by Canadian is probably going to make it fairly palatable, but like you said, there will be things in the site, such as Electroclaws maybe, or possibly a deployable shield they will now not be able to take out because they have to make the choice between that or one of the Castle barricades. Already about 30 seconds being deployed, but once again, folks, you know the drill by this point here. It's been quite a few rounds played out already, so you should expect it. Slow rolling here for the first minute or two of play, as we're going to see Eclipse on the Maverick there try to work out the opening of the main balcony, and as well Panva will pop open a hole in the garage.
Yeah, you know, Spotify has playlists for cooking pasta at the proper time. Maybe we should just get a playlist for, you know, Rainbow Six just for the opening minute and a half, and then every time it ends...
Faceit's got that one song. It's like, da-da-da-da. Like that's really, I feel like that's really relevant for this first, like, 30 seconds of these cash attacks.
Ubisoft, you know, you have our people, talk to your people. We can get it figured out, I'm sure. But either way, we're about a minute and a half in now, folks, as DarkZero is still trying to get things set up on the outside of the building. A lot of these Rotero drones hitting their mark for Canadian as well, and Super taking quite a bit of heat here, already down to half HP, and he's really going to want to hold on to life as much as possible because those toxic babes are going to be worth so much inside of this round. If they find some sheer value, then this is more than likely the round here for SQ, as DZ have been very, very hard trying to entry in through this utility. Usually ends up in right into the face of the Soniqs, but we'll have to see what happens this time around.
It's not just Rexon holding the catwalks here. Kansan assisting with it as well. There's actually another drone that's going to roll up past him here in a second, and he needs to try and catch it because Kansan might be being held here in secret. And now here we go. The pre-fire going to come out against Rexon. Like I said, I'm pretty sure there's still a drone somewhere near the staircase giving info onto him, so we'll need to be careful of that. But Kansan makes it happen instead now as he adds the Nitro Cell into the play. He is going to lose himself, though, a second later as NJR is able to trade him out. But in addition to that, Rexon still here, still continuing to hold things off. And now, cognizant of the drone, he takes that one down, Pan. But with the lurk, though, catches Yeti by Oil Pit and knocks him out, and that evens us back down to a 3v3.
Such low HP in between NJR and Pambazoo. Hyper is going to have to do something dastardly here to get away with this, but NJR and low HP doesn't seemingly matter. He's still as aggressive as ever. Takes out the Rafters player in perfect time. 35 seconds for DarkZero to get this plant down and force us into overtime here. Pambazoo, he's going to bank a flash off the wall, but the second one's going to hit its mark. Sadly, won't blind out Super. Grixer with a big kill. It's down to the 2 versus 2. M590 out, but Super's asleep at the wheel. It's all left up to Grixer, but Hyper kills him too, and DarkZero make it to overtime.
We are going the distance here on map number 2 of the grand final. The Soniqs cannot contain themselves despite the unique setup and the possible benefits it gave them there in the opening gunfights. It gets traded out by DarkZero, and as such, they push it to overtime, and even better for them, they get the defensive start on overtime, a massive advantage on Clubhouse to build off of, just needing 2 out of 3 of those rounds to win it.
Fantastic news. Now, do you want the bad news?
Yeah.
Soniqs have 2 rounds on offense. That's the bad news. Soniqs have looked so stellar when it comes to this side of play here for Clubhouse, not only today, but I will remind you once again, yesterday up against Oxygen, they have looked fantastic. This is the moment for DarkZero right here. If they're able to do this, this third map is going to be electric, and I really, really do hope that we get it. But for me, as of right now, I do feel as though this is a Soniqs overtime. Now, this might be me trying to apply a little bit of a caster's curse for that third map, but I'm just saying, I think both of these teams have been pretty solid. DarkZero at digging themselves out of a hole, and Soniqs just with the routine play that we've seen on a round-by-round basis.
For the Soniqs here, an opportunity to close this out, and regulation on both maps denied, but still an opportunity to shut this one down in overtime, and indeed still take the crown and the trophy here for the 2021 NAL champions. At the same time, DarkZero doesn't seem to want to take this loss, trying to fight it out to the most extent that they can, so they will also continue to excel here. Obviously going to be skipping the basement hold. That's where we saw quite a bit of success for the Soniqs outright as they went 2 for 2 on those attacks back in regulation. They were at 50% win rate for the other 2 sites, however, so it's really a toss up in the air right now to see how these rounds are going to go for DarkZero. As Stokes was mentioning earlier here, the Soniqs seem to be very much in the know of how to handle these types of setups from DZ, so that means that they have to adapt now, moving into OT where they're going to replay them again.
And that's where I get scared, John, honestly, because, I mean, look at the setup from DarkZero. This is the exact same thing we've been seeing time and time again throughout the entirety of Clubhouse.
I mean, to be fair, like I said, once again, we've got teams potentially saving stuff for SI, so there is a possibility they might have something in their pocket. But ultimately, Clubhouse is a fairly played-out map. It's pretty hard to make variations to your strategy because, for the most part, a lot of things, if not everything, has kind of already been tried. So it's very, very tough indeed to try and innovate your play style, and this map somewhat restricts it at the moment.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those maps where you have your default, and it's the minor adjustments inside of that really, you know, bear fruit. So we'll see if that does anything for DarkZero's camp. But as we've been talking about for most of this thus far, Soniqs Soniqs in such a solid position to take this still, even at the 6-6 scoreline, given that they will be on offense for 2 of the 3 rounds. So drones in now for Soniqs as they're getting a better read as to what's going on inside of CCTV and just the site in general. Some solid play down low from DZ, as well as Pambazoo will be in the area for lounge just in case anybody does want to get risky with that space. Down a hologram in, but it's going to get immediately dusted, so not too much done with that as we reach the halfway mark here.
Wait for DarkZero. Still some plans being built up for them, specifically for Canadian. A long lurk through the basement right now, trying to maybe catch someone who would go in and try to take blue control early. Not going to see that come to much fruition as of yet here. Panda has his openings in garage, though, and that could actually lead to something if he gets a time swing out appropriately here, but he as well needs to be cautious about when he tries to do that, as the Soniqs have been very much on top of their intel game for a large majority of these rounds so far in this series here. This one being really no different. A huge emphasis on that as they do try to work their way forward. But Eclipse, once again, going to end up being challenged here as well in the catwalks. You have 2 members of the Soniqs standing at the threshold of the doorway right now, getting ready to challenge it. But it's Panda that comes out on top for DZ, taking down Grixer first. Arguably the most powerful player here for the Soniqs between yesterday and today. And now eliminating that for the attacking lineup as they try to work their way in. Eclipse going to try to fend this off. He's got the Nitro to keep pressure off the stairs. It's going to get shot out, though, and Eclipse being bled away. Has a winning angle to win a fight, but it's not going to happen. Rexen takes it instead, and we're even again at a 4v4 with a little over 30 seconds remaining.
Soniqs looking for this plant here inside of CCTV. Only 30 seconds remaining. This needs to be the move. To see what they can get done here as Canadian will clamber back up the main stairs. Needs to come back through and assist his team, although Pambazoo's still alive, and what an insane performance he's put on display here for Clubhouse. Currently 15-7 as Soniqs set up to enter the building with 12 seconds remaining. Super pushes deep, but his Hyper know where he's planning from. He's planning right in front of the soft wall, and Super gets taken down. That's the case. Can't and JR pass each other. Rex is inside of sight. He gets cut down too, and the defenders win the round. Canadian gets it done with DZ.
A bold choice from the Soniqs to try to plant directly next to the soft wall, one that's read very easily by DarkZero. Once that case is down on the ground, there is no time left to correct it at that point. That's a big win for DZ. They're going to take the lead here now. It's 7-6 as they try to take control of this map.
So what is the site choice here for the Soniqs? That's the
I would
real
assume
question.
basement.
And it is looking like it is going to be the basement, John, so good on you, my friend. But either way, I would agree with you. I think that this is the best site that we've seen from them thus far, and the one that's been so very difficult for DZ to get right. I mean, even that last round, it looked like it was going to be solid, but the big thing is time. They continue to run into the same exact problem, whereas they get down so low on the timer that they don't have room for mistakes. And that's the biggest thing right there. You know, what we saw with that round from Grixer especially being the best highlighter of what has been happening with this clock management on DZ. So we'll see if they can get around that issue this time around, but could definitely still be something that we're going to need to look into. Canadian, though, will be 6-picking once again off of the Ying onto the Rotero drones of Flores for this round, but more than likely going to be suspected from the Soniqs as we saw it on this one the last time.
Well, as we get into possibly our final round of the map yet again, but saying that for a bit here now, as we've entered overtime. DarkZero are the one that stands at the threshold. For the first time in this series, they get themselves to a map point. Don't want to waste this opportunity, as they're only going to get 2 of them here between this round and the next. Soniqs looking to try and reset things and even us back out at 7-7, so they too can try and claim that pivotal point that will not only end the map for them, but the series as well, claiming them as the NAL champions. Away from that, though, we've got the Soniqs set up once again in a bunker-focused setup. All 5 players going to be positioned downstairs. No one roaming out and about. Just going to allow DarkZero to get the free clear on the 2nd and 1st floor, and obviously take the time that they need to open up angles. Whether it's top-down or just entry routes they need to transition from the 1st floor to the basement, that is going to be the pivotal thing they need to look for themselves here. Already finding success like we saw with a Ying play the last time we saw DarkZero go for the site, but ultimately not accounting for Grixer sitting in blue. The one area that DarkZero wasn't able to put pressure on, he clutches it out on the timer there. So DarkZero bringing a different flair to the table this time, though, going back to, I think, to the more standard layout we had been seeing for them for these attacks previously.
I will say this. Early on, we saw Grixer just getting away with murder practically for the Soniqs, but Pambazoo has came to light for DZ and really challenged back. And not only that, but he's been doing it with harder hardware to use, arguably. Hyper going to get a big kill onto Rex, and as he's simply just found walking around Garage, it's going to be an easy claymore for Hyper to set up, and also a kill that he'll definitely be happy that he received. Minute and 45 seconds now for DZ, as they've already got the pick that they were more than likely searching for, and they'll begin their work on the basement. The first Rotero drone in, but is Kansan aware, be able to get rid of at least a piece of utility here. Don't exactly know what he's going for, but he'll at least get rid of a couple of chairs. I'm sure somebody cared about those.
I think he just activated it to annoy him more. I don't think there was anything.
Yeah,
on
the drone blows up, Kansan. Haha.
Yeah, it's more like how you didn't get to shoot it, and now you have to like move for 3 seconds. But yeah, nothing really consequential coming out of that one as far as I can see from the top-down view, as DarkZero continue to look. And now will really take their time mounting up positions here to get themselves into the basement. They have zero pressure on them now that they've already built up towards a 5v4. Keep in mind, of course, if they take this too low, the Soniqs will still ultimately take back that advantage here. But once again, DarkZero using this time very nicely right now, mainly to deal with the extra utilities. You're constantly seeing those Rotero drones being strung in here. One's going to chase down Yeti. He's going to move a little more quickly than that Yeti, but he gets himself out of there. That costs him the ADS on his position too, so he's more than likely going to have to leave this spot relatively soon if DarkZero try to focus it.
He's got one discs in the ceiling though.
Oh, that's true.
And that's a big thing here. He's also still processing those as well, because we're at 40 seconds, so he's about to get his last disc here momentarily. But the execute actually might come in from DarkZero here at a moment's notice. They still need some positions to be exposed to the offense, but past that, Soniqs are already at a deficit, and this is something that DZ have came by rarely inside of this game. Super's going to get downed. Hyper inside of blue. He hits the prone, but not able to land his shots just yet.
Yeti?
But Yeti's going to pop off. 2 big frags, and they don't really know his positioning basis as of right now. The stuns pour in, but Soniqs are fighting back. It's 10 seconds for NJR and Canadian. Canadian's got the case, but they've got no home to go to. There's one deep inside of Armory, but Grixer's going to gun him down. Kansan gets the second one, and the Soniqs tie it up at 7-7. It's going to take us all 15 to decide Clubhouse.
It was once again, we needed to see that from Grixer. We needed to see that hero play, that confidence play come out from him again. And once again, Yeti also activating inside of blue there with very little right to as well, losing the ADS, only having those discs sitting in the corner
Dead
to rely on.
In all sense of the term in Siege. When something like that happens, dead to right. Yes.
Yeti and Grixer should have been easily knocked out there, but somehow they maintained and thrived from those positions, picking up 3 kills at least between the two of them there to shut down and more importantly waste out the remaining time that DarkZero had, forcing those 2 players to make a play of their own and now forcing them into a timeout as we're going to go to the final round of play, round 15, to decide if it'll be a 2-0 for the Soniqs or a 1-1 sending us to Coastline.
Man, I wish that we got to see both of those kills from Yeti's perspective. The mechanics there had to be so nasty, because that was an immediate 180 onto Hyper inside of Oil Pit as well. That was, oh, that's disgusting. I love it when I see that kind of stuff. But it's going to be the time out here for DZ, as exactly what we talked about. It's come to fruition. I mean, Super and the Soniqs now once again get to go back to offense, and this is something that they've done such a bang-up job of thus far here on Clubhouse. Again, not only today, but yesterday. So this is a reoccurring theme for them, and this is going to be the most hard-fought round we've more than likely seen throughout both of these rounds, or rather both of these maps.
Also, head back in game, you guys can see pretty much instantly it's going to be a gym hold as the final bastion of defense here for DarkZero. Heavy emphasis once again on the utility mitigation, but we are going to see one of those get switched away here, as once more Goya will be switched out instead for an alibi. I kind of absolutely agree with that, considering how crazy we've been seeing NJR play over the last like 5 or 6 rounds here. He's really come alive in addition to Panba, and I think he's more than deserved the pickup there of the alibi to have himself a little bit of extra fragging capability should he need it to try and shut down the plays for the Soniqs.
This right here is going to be decided in 2 different ways.
Okay. So give us a second, guys.
Okay, so can't move the drone, but either way, it still stands. This is going to be decided in one of 2 ways. Either we're going to see a huge pop-off from Grixer, or DZ is going to be able to deal with him in some fashion, because Grixer has been the catalyst for the Soniqs on these rounds time and time again. So exciting stuff.
Okay, let's hey guys, let's head back in game because this round's being continued. This round.
Oh, we got it. We got it. They got the drone out.
They got the drone out.
Yeah, we're good to go. And we're back into the action phase. So yes, so be looking and paying attention to Grixer. If he goes down early, I don't think the Soniqs get this round.
All right, guys. So getting into it here now, we are going to see how the Soniqs will try to deploy themselves into it. The reason why we didn't... Okay, well, now you're just confusing the admin, Super. Okay, so we'll see here in a second.
No, they tried to go and pick it up. That's what they did.
Oh.
Yeah. So Hey, well, very well done. I mean, shout out to the admins on that one for allowing the Sonics to try and fix it. So, good stuff. But either way, we're going to be on to the tech timeout, folks, as we just reset that round. But do not worry, it will not take that long. Trust me, our spectators are very good getting these things set back up. So we'll be back in momentarily to play out the very last round of Clubhouse to not only decide if the Sonics will take the NAL Finals and be our champion for Season 2, or if DarkZero can push us to Ibiza, as we'll be traveling to Coastline to see who will truly take this.
Sorry about the confusion with that, folks. Once again, we had players saying that they could use the drone, and then they were saying that DarkZero had it, so they kind of just continued play, and then they couldn't pick it up, so obviously they are going to want that. And we'll give that to them. So give us just a second, folks, and we will jump back in game here, continuing off where we left off at that very final round to see if the Sonics will be able to push themselves forward here and claim themselves the NAL 2021 champions. Seeing Grixer come alive in that previous round, a great catalyst to what could be the end of it here if he continues to play well. Not just him, but Yeti also activating, as I was mentioning before. At the same time, plenty of factors coming alive for DarkZero inside of these most recent rounds too, and if they show up, it's once again going to be the pivotal thing that probably decides how these first few kills go, and that will ultimately decide the pacing for these final fights and could lead to a victor if we see NJR fragging out here, for instance, or Panbo once again continuing to excel. That could push this one into DZ's favor. And as you said, over to our map in Spain, try and play this out for the final map of the NAL 2021 Finals. Looks like we've got everything set back up. All the players are in the lobby, so we're just waiting for confirmation for both teams. And then we'll be good to resume.
What an incredible series that you and I have been gifted as well, because when it started out on Bank, I didn't really see DarkZero clambering back out of that hole, especially with the way that the Sonics opened up this map. You know, it was very, very difficult for DZ to start things off, and there was a lot of things going wrong, but it's been the adjustments time and time again from DZ that have gotten them down this path so far. They just need one more big round to stay alive in this one. I know that everyone going dark at home is excited to see this last round, but same can be said for the Sonics. This is an organization that came into Rainbow Six Siege as a baby of an org, and they have came so far as a roster. I mean, we're talking international moves, everything else. Super blows the team to smithereens and practically Grand Thefts United, brings them in and is just stomping through the NAL, and now looking to take the trophy as well.
Once again, you could see the prize, or at least one of the prizes, sitting in the middle of the stage now, the trophy, which our winners will be able to lift soon, possibly to be the Sonics here if they come out on top with this next round. And that's in addition to the $75K that our first place winners will be taking home. Second place obviously not going to go home with nothing, but slightly less, as they'll be only taking $45K for their finish of silver.
If I had $75,000, that means that I can buy 75,000 Arizona green teas. That's a lot of green tea.
I don't know about that anymore. You notice like some places starting to bubble up prices.
Actually, fun fact for everybody at home as well. If your gas station, I'm so serious. If your gas station and somebody is selling Arizona products at over 99 cents and it's labeled on the can, call Arizona and tell them, because they will straight up strip Arizona out of that store. They will not allow them to sell it at over 99 cents.
That way, a consumer pro tips line apparently.
Give me my green tea, baby.
All right, folks, we are very close to getting back into the matchup now here. Once again, we're just confirming a few other things, making sure that we are set and ready to go. And indeed, here we go, back into the match now, as it'll be same everything, I believe. We'll have to pick the same operators and all that, same bands and all that, and same site choice as well. As we'll just lock all that in real quickly and get going with the final round.
Yeah, a lot of yeses there. Everything that you said, 100% correct. That's exactly what we're going to have to do. Locked into this one, and NJR obviously going to have to go back to the alibi. The 6th pick coming in just for something cheeky. Might as well. Still playing the same operators, though, so it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. We're going to see the exact same setup that we more than likely saw the last time, so really nothing to talk about here. It's once again down to these key factors for both teams. For Sonics, it's that... Oh, I'm sorry, Troy. Very unfortunate cursor bug here, so we're going to have to rehost yet again, folks. But don't worry, still plenty of things to talk about, you know, consumer products aside. So, you know, when it comes back just to the match and what we've been seeing in between these two teams, I mean, for the Sonics, we haven't seen that much action out of Super today in relation to yesterday, but we're still seeing the same results. So how do you feel about the way that he's been IGLing this team and the way that he kind of coordinates with them to put them in a spot for success, but him more or less being the martyr in the situation?
I think it's second to none, especially on attacks here with his leadership. I think that it started to falter off a little bit in the parts of Clubhouse here. We haven't seen it find as much use, but specifically on Bank.
You are playing against the best IGL in America, or, was at the time.
On Clubhouse as well, where his previous team would literally dominate for like 6 months straight without losing a single game.
Are you talking about Dub House? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So, obviously tougher to make it work there considering Canadians' own personal history on Clubhouse. But for the Soniqs, the way we were seeing them play on Bag, it was absolutely beautiful the way that they were supporting each other with their pushes and whatnot. Like I said, the buddy system play of always making sure there was someone there to trade. Yes, they might have been some risky pushes, but okay, that player goes down. He's always got someone either on an angle, corresponding to that play, or right behind him to make sure that those trades would immediately come in. And at worst, they would end up in a 4v4, 3v3, or something like that. And considering that, it's made the Soniqs a very, very tough team to get any rounds against here. As we saw on that first map, DZ needed to take the pause, and credit to DZ, catching on to the possible issues with this style of attack. They rebounded and picked up 3 rounds as well. So it can be beaten, but it's also very exciting to watch when it does work because of how quickly it just shuts down any attempt from the defenders to try and stop it.
Absolutely, those super stocks just continue to go up and up and up as he is just proving what he's been talking about the entirety of this last year. And honestly, this, at least inside of this tournament, has probably been the most well put together Soniqs that we've seen the entire year. And if there was a time to do it, it would definitely be now. So very happy for them and what they've been able to achieve this year. It's going to make for a very exciting 2022, but we have to get there first. So.
All right, just waiting on confirmation from DZ that they are good to start, and then we will be getting back into the match, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, if you are just joining us, this is the NAL 2021 Grand Final. We are in map number 2 right now, and we are in a dead heat. The final round of regulation play, or rather overtime play, at 7-7. The next team to pick up a round here and get their 8th will be winning this map, and if it happens to be our team on the right side of your screen right now, they will be our champions for the entire year. DarkZero wants that title as well, though, so they need to pick it up, but for them, it only push us into a 3rd map. Let's see who will pick it up, as once again, we are heading back in game. Probably going to give us just a second, then, while we confirm that there are no additional issues.
All right, guys, Chonka7's in chat. Let's get into it here, as we're going to make sure that nothing else is going on for this squad. And as soon as we confirm that, we'll be back into game. But as we said previously, all of this stuff has to be the exact same. You're going to be seeing the exact same setup as well as the same operators used inside the last 2 times that we had these false starts. Hopefully, this time, we will be immediately into game. I mean, just think about the mental right now for these 2 teams. DarkZero and Soniqs both fighting up to 7 points here inside of Clubhouse, get all the way down to the very last round, and then you have to sit for an extra 10 minutes to get everything figured out. I mean, I can't even imagine what the feeling is amongst everyone right now, but even though the score lines are 0-0, folks, we will talk about what basically is a head-to-head bout in between 2 heavyweights of the game in North America. It's Pambazoo as well as Grixer.
Appreciate our admin there in the middle. I don't know if you guys at home caught our admin doing like the cowboy stance, checking both teams, like making sure there's nothing else going on.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Fight.
And they were. So it looks like we're going live with this one, folks. Assuming nothing props up here when the Soniqs spawn, I think we are good to play this round out finally. So let's get into it and see if the attackers will be able to excel and claim the tournament, or if DarkZero will send us to that 3rd map over on Coastline here. Both teams have had quite a few minutes now because of 2 resets in a row to be able to kind of reset themselves mentally, so they should be quite fresh getting back into this. Oh, and a nice Nitro cell, nearly gets 2, but 1's enough in this situation. Kansan gets knocked out by a Canadian on a Hail Mary Nitro.
Expecting that, even though we saw Canadian dish one of those out earlier on, that one just not landing on its mark. But this one, most definitely, DarkZero starting off so very strong here. Fortunately enough for the Soniqs, Kansan, not the biggest piece to the puzzle, at least utility-wise, inside of this scenario, but still, a gun down is a gun down. Soniqs will have to be operating in a positive manner. If they neutrally trade or anything else, this round's more than likely going to the wayside. For DarkZero, it's a huge defensive standpoint here inside of Cash, Pambazoo, Hyper, Eclipse, all within the same square meters of each other, as they'll be trying to hold on to this space. The wall's been electroclawed close as well, so going to be a little difficult for the Soniqs to get some pressure inside of this area. And speaking of pressure, it looks like Yeti is going to be working in down low momentarily. Grixer with a heck of a play initially with that drone, but just not able to get the Rotero in the proper spot.
Trying to once again open up an angle here against Eclipse, as you're going to see Yeti also try to put some pressure up the red stairs here. Currently down below it, though, in blue, so not anywhere near the position from Hyper. It's going to take him a moment to get a bit closer towards that. As Rexon actually, oh, he could catch two right here. One's on the cross. They thought he would have moved away, but no, they're now locked in. He's driven a wedge in this defense here, and he's also done some great damage to Eclipse in the process. He was smart enough to back away and save his own life, where Panba was not.
Oh, man, well. I don't think any of us expected this round to go like this. DarkZero call for rotation
no!
back. And, oh no, not like this. Rexon dealing so much damage. If there was a moment in time for him to start popping off, it had to be here. Grixer hasn't even had to do a damn thing just yet. And in fact, it was actually Grixer's drone earlier working its way in. But the good news for DarkZero, look at the time. 40 seconds remain as they continue to try and stave off the Soniqs. But they are on top of it right now. Canadians still working inside of logistics, but everyone is spread so thin across the map. The Soniqs just need to pressure a space and take control.
If they can kill Hyper here without losing anyone else, so that's going to allow them to just swing into the site, try to trade their way towards a victory and towards a title for the 2021 champions as well. Hyper continuing to hold the line, though, continuing to fend this off, but no, the site players begin to fall. Grixer and Rexon both find kills, and it's all on NJR. He's been hot these last few rounds, but now he needs to be heroic to shut this one down. It's a 1v4. He only needs to last out 8 seconds. And but Grixer instantly headshots him out, and the Soniqs will be the 2021 NAL champions!
Congratulations to the Soniqs, the team that blew apart their entire squad at the beginning of the 2021 season and came back to win it all here in the NAL. And not only that, but up against one of the most starred IGLs of all time inside of Rainbow Six Siege. Congratulations to the Soniqs, and not only that, congratulations to Super for achieving the impossible.
They started as E-United in 2020, looking for a rebuild in 2021 with new leadership taking on the mantle as well, and it excelled them immediately into the top 4, the most consistent team throughout all 3 stages, and #1 for NA in overall SI placement points, and now #1 in the NAL as they are your champions for 2021.
So unbelievably hard fought on Clubhouse. Bank, a little bit of a different story, but these two constantly posturing back and forth in between each other. Some insane audibles called by Big Bad Nadian, but just was all for naught down at the moment. And unfortunately enough for them, the call is actually what is the detriment in order to give the Soniqs the victory. They try to rotate back into construction and lose way too many bodies in the process. The Soniqs capitalize and are able to take it. And what a series it was, especially for these players. I mean, Yeti has been around for millennia, same as Super. I mean, I remember Yeti being on Noble, World's Best Gaming, and this has all came up to this moment where finally they get to lift a trophy.
Lifting a trophy will be very well earned indeed here. What a year from the Soniqs, and it's really only just getting started. Successful run here for them at the NAL Finals. We've got them showing up at SI as well. Like I just mentioned a few moments ago, they are the #1 team for North America by qualification points, so we will certainly be seeing them there, where they will once again try to prove themselves. That's the next step for this team now. That's what's next on the checklist here for Super's plan for worldwide domination, as he now needs to field these results internationally as well as here at home and NA.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what a series that we were gifted here once again today. I mean, I was not expecting either of these maps to really boil down to that. I thought we were going the full breadth, but I really thought we were just going to get some regulation victories and things were really going to start popping off around Coastline, but that's not the case at all. Clubhouse as action-packed as ever, and man, was that fun.
What a place to beat Canadian as well.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
I think we mentioned at one point during the pause there with the resets, but on Canadian's own home turf, the area where he dominated, with obviously a very different roster.
Both actually, Bank and Clubhouse. Those are both Canadian
absolutely.
maps.
Yep, so managing to take 2 victories against him there on maps where he has an infinite amount of experience, both here at home and internationally as well. What a way for Super to once again prove his worth here and finally earn that title that he specifically, as well as the rest of the team, has been looking for such a long time.
Such an incredible moment for the Soniqs. And speaking of which, we've got some beautiful faces here to more than likely lift a trophy. We're just waiting on Rexon to get in there. Congratulations once again to this entire squad as the Soniqs are looking and rearing to go and just lay a hand on that beautiful thing.
And here it is, the trophy lift, as they are going to claim the 2021 NAL Championship. It's the Soniqs that will be your victors.
Congratulations, boys. It's been a hard-fought year. It's been difficult for all of us, but especially for the Soniqs in the way that they had to bring this team together. Joe Bro, the whole coaching staff, Super as the IGL, trying to make things work with a brand new roster that he brought in. I mean, how unbelievably incredible. Joe Bro, you deserve that trophy lift, my friend. What a beautiful moment for Rainbow Six Esports.
Everyone going to take it upon themselves here. Savor the moment. As you can see, they are truly enjoying this moment. The Soniqs, once again, your victors, and Yeti as well, smiling as much as he has been throughout this entire series. Really, what a fun series for these guys, as we saw before. Even in map number 1, the Soniqs bringing an excellent amount of attitude to the table here. Really having a ball, especially with those first 3 rounds. We saw it right from the beginning, the power that the Soniqs had inside of this matchup, and it's what they use as well to claim ultimate victory here in our final round. That's going to do it, ladies and gentlemen, for the 2 of us here at the NAL Finals. We'll hopefully be seeing you guys once again in the 2022 season, but for the time being, it's time to send it back down to our desk to break this down and, of course, get us ready for the next match, Relegations.
Congratulations one more time to the Soniqs for being the NAL champions. And fellas, they did it in a 2-0 fashion. C-Dabs, Jacob, I couldn't be more proud of them.
They were the only team not to drop out of the top 4 of the NAL for the whole of 2021. The rounds won per stage were within 3 of one another every time. It was incredibly consistent. 3 players in stage 3 at a 1.19 rating or better, and they are the most objective-oriented team in the North American League. If there was going to be any squad, if it wasn't Space Station, it absolutely had to be the Soniqs. Congratulations to SQ, your 2021 NAL champs.
Yeah, they looked absolutely amazing. They came out, they did exactly what they were supposed to. This is a team that has high expectations for themselves. They want to back up all their talk, and they finally have a championship to do so. Super. The rest of the boys, the mastermind we've been saying, he doesn't need to frag, the rest of the boys can. And overall, it has looked absolutely amazing. Also, big shout outs to Joe Bro. He's looking pretty fresh on behind in that suit.
He always looks fresh.
He always looks fresh, but man, those map bans. He played DZ like a fiddle.
He really did. A little unfortunate that it came down to that one tech rehost on 7-7 because not only did DZ take their timeout right at that moment, all of a sudden everything gets iced up a little bit. You kind of have to slow the tempo down. You're taken out of the zone because you're not in game. You're waiting for the lobby to kind of come back. And I do feel like DarkZero had the right idea. Very nearly took that last round, sent us to a map 3, but it wasn't to be. And even if we had to go to Coastline, man, I still feel like that game would have been close too.
And back and forth like a seesaw battle with a victory margin of just 1 round. Soniqs win it out on Clubhouse, 8-7, just 1 round. But look at the stats. Grixer, a player that was in the running of being the MVP and one of the standouts on this roster, went 18-7. The man was phenomenal, and the rest of the team as well. But also, I'd like to put our hands together. A little round of applause to DarkZero. They put on such a great fight. And C-Dabs, your boy Pamba went off 16-9.
Yeah, this time he couldn't blame it on the thermite for Clubhouse. He was definitely doing a lot better. But for DZ, sure, finalist, it's not as good as winners. But once again, this was a team that had a lot of question marks coming into this NA Finals. What kind of team are they? How are their role changes fleshing out?
Yeah.
And you got to say, they look pretty bright going ahead to SI.
They looked amazing. But you know what else is about to be amazing? This interview we're going to have with Yeti from the winning team, Soniqs. Let's get him up on the screen. And Yeti, if you can hear me, man, I know you're excited. You're feeling good. Let us feel some of that energy, man. How you feeling? Congratulations.
Hey, I'm feeling hecka good. I got to be careful with my language. I'm going to get fined again. I got the trophy. I just put it down. It's kind of heavy. You want to see it?
Go ahead, lift it up, baby.
Is it actually that heavy? Really?
Yeah.
By the way,
look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I
Let's
have
go,
a question,
man.
Yeti. So this was the first time anybody on your team actually held a trophy in Rainbow Six Siege, especially the Soniqs, the organization as a whole in this scene. So how does it feel to be a champion, man? It's got to feel great.
Man, it feels, I can't put words to it, honestly, man. I've been playing the game for a long time, 6 years to be exact. I've been playing it since the closed beta. I've been playing comp since, 6 months into the game's, its existence. And, we've been grinding, bro. We've been double scrimming every day almost, before Sweden, after Sweden. It's just been every day. I wake up, get on at noon, scrim till 7, get off, repeat, 1 off day a week. Man, all the guys have just been putting in so much work, putting so much energy into practice. And, Seth's been just cooking it up in the lab with VOD review, making these strats for us, and just, making sure we're, as prepared as physically possible. to play these teams and give the best showing that we possibly can. It's awesome, bro. This is awesome.
Live it up, man.
Yeah, and I would say the next big thing for you guys will be international success. You've had domestic success, and you talked about how much and how hard you guys have worked. What kind of placement are you looking for ahead at the 6th Invitational?
I mean, we want to make it out of groups, honestly. I mean, we think we can compete with these international teams. I think that everyone kind of saw that when we started giving BDS and NIP a different look. I think it kind of hit us in the head what we needed to do in terms of what we need to bring to international play, because it's very different from the NA. NA is a lot slower. It's a lot more, they try to be methodical, I would say, whereas the international competition, it's pretty similar to our play style. It's very like objective-based, but it's fast. It's really fast. There's a lot of sporadic moving pieces in the round. People in your face constantly and just challenging you and giving you different looks. The adaptations are just so much better. So, like I said, we just look to be better. We've had a slow progression from Mexico to Sweden, so we look to carry that over, to this now too, and then carry that over to Invite.
I still remember the mentality from Stage 1 where Super was like, if we're able to crack into top 4, that's our goal. But initially, when you guys formed that Soniqs team out of the United Corps, it seemed like that wasn't really what you were gunning for. And then you go second, third, and third in all of those stages, and now you get to lift the trophy as the NAL champs. What's that mentality like? Did you start off the year thinking, we'll just try this and see where it goes, and then that shifted into a champion's mentality later? How do you work that out behind the scenes?
Well, so it started off as no pressure. We're picking up a new team. We're looking to have a good work environment and just grow. That was the whole mantra for the Soniqs going into Stage 1 was just grow. Just be happy, enjoy playing the game together, work together as best as possible, and just grow and just build something for the future. We didn't think success would come this early or this consistent, but it did. And as it kept coming, it was we just kept that low pressure mentality. Just don't put pressure on yourself. Just go into each week, each stage, fresh slate, same thing, no pressure. You do how you do. You're gonna win, you're gonna lose. Just do the best you can, and that's kind of what we've done. And it's paid off. Like I said, you put the work in, you get better.
Hey, last but not least, this is the last thing, and I'm going to give the floor to you to go ahead and give a shout out to the fans and viewers out there, because we are so happy for you right now. Alfama, he'd be proud of you, man. So for the viewers out there, show him some love. Give him another reason why they should continue rooting for the Soniqs, especially when it comes to 6th Invitational. Let them know what's to come in the future.
Well, first, I got to say one thing. This is the best birthday ever, by far.
A happy birthday, Yeti! There we go.
It's the best birthday ever. I love all the fans. We love the haters too, man. We know we piss some of y'all off with how we yell and stuff, but it's all passion. It's all love. We're cool with all the guys we're yelling at. Most of them, 95%. I'll say that much. But it's all out of love. It's all out of passion. It's all out of the love for the game. We try to make it interesting for y'all. Give you something different to look at instead of just nerds staring at a screen. So, like I said, we appreciate everybody. We appreciate the Soniqs, sponsors. Darren, thank you for giving us a shot. We look to, keep impressing you and, being better.
All right, Yeti, thank you so much. Once again, congratulations to you and the rest of your squad, Soniqs, on being the NAL 2021 champions. Get something good to eat, man. Go and get a steak, have some fun, and we'll catch you next time at Invite.
Thanks, boys.
No
Let's go,
problem.
Lawson.
All right,
go,
there
man.
you have it. Something like a prophet. Super came into the scene with this roster, and he picked up the United boys. He said, you know what? This is going to be a top 4 team. A lot of people doubted it. A lot of people laughed at it. But at the end of the day, now they're the last team remaining that's holding up the trophy as #1 in North America. So congrats to that team right there. And fellas, Jacob, this has been a long year, man. It's been good.
Not a single part of this Soniqs team was out of step, aside from the majors. But right now, we're not focused on the majors. Everything for North America shaped up for them to get this win. And this is better than
this
SSG
is a great
winning.
story.
This is better than OXG winning. Ultimately, this is the kind of thing we looked for from a team that was in the gutter back in 2020.
Yeah.
And now they're essentially a phoenix, coming back in, rising from the ashes, having their moment in the sun. It's just kind of a shame that it took this long to finally manifest.
You're right. Blue was talking about it, man. From United, they were the worst team in the league,
they were.
basically.
Yeah.
They were people laughed at them, and now look at them. They're the last ones laughing. They're holding up a trophy. Shout out to Joe Bro as well, the coach, the coaching staff, everybody that's involved with them. Even shout out to God as part of the Soniqs. We love you guys. But C-Daps, this has been incredible. Your first finals here in the NAL. What are your total thoughts, man? You got to be feeling great.
I got a feeling absolutely great because I really wanted the Soniqs to win. I love their play style. I love the work that they put in behind the scenes. And sure, we all predicted. You guys followed my lead this time.
Hey, no,
I went first.
no.
I went on the first prediction. You guys just copied me because you knew my prediction was better.
Is he still talking about predictions,
yes, I am.
man?
I am.